You're not Scott.
I
Right.
am not Scott. Last time I checked, I lived in a very totally different time zone from Scott. So that's part of the important thing there. My internet is flaky, so I've disappeared actually during the warm up. So let's see. Let's
see how we go then.
well. Yeah. So if I disappear again, it's not my fault. It's local networking. I can't really control that. So
let's jump straight into it and see how far we can get.
yeah, let's just go. Yes, right. Okay, I'm virtual Scott, so therefore I get to read these. So our rules are very simple: be nice, respectful, constructive, be good to each other, be very kind to each other. Don't post anything if it's adult, rude, or offensive. Do not advertise or promote anything. The only people that get to promote things are people with their face on the screen, like me. Okay, you do not get to do that out there. That's come on the show and you can promote whatever you want. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again and again. We get bored with that, and basically we start deleting messages on top of that. Also, if you're posting questions and you post the same question again, you go to the bottom of the queue, and it's going to take a lot longer to listen for your answer. So don't do that either. Harassing of any kind is not tolerated. We do have ban hammers. We do use them, but do have a good time. Have a great time. We're having a great time here. That's why we do this week after week after week, because we enjoy helping you out, and we enjoy.
No, Randall. Well, we'll carry on and see how far we get. Here he is. He's back.
In and out. Oh my god! I wonder what's going on with my internet.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader, CTO at Dev Angels London, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London and Blue Sky at devangels.london and at Simon at fluttercommunity.social for the Mastodon. Scott can't be with us today, but Randall, please briefly introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Randall Schwartz. I've been a Google developer expert, one of 10 in the United States for the last 6 years, 6.5 years now, somewhere in there. And what that means is I get to spend a lot of time answering y'all's questions on things like Stack Overflow and am I out?
You're here. Go carry on. Am
I gone?
No. All right. Well, we all know Randall's introduction, and we've got a frozen Randall. So we'll introduce Raf. Hey, Raf, come to the stage.
Hello. Hopefully I get more luck than Randall this time, because this is gonna be fun, I guess.
He'll be back with us, don't worry.
I'm Rafael. I do some Flutter community stuff. I like Flutter, and I'm here to have a good time.
Aren't we all? So just before the show, I got an email, and it was from the official Flutter announcements Google group. Apparently, they've now committed to the main branch the removal of the HTML renderer for web. So the removal kit has already been added to the main channel. We expect it to arrive the first Flutter stable release of 2025. After this removal, Flutter will have a single web rendering architecture based on Skier. By using Skier everywhere, we're able to deliver higher quality performance and consistency. And there's they also this is Kevin Moore who posted this. We also like to thank the community for all the feedback during the deprecation period. Your suggestions have helped us prioritize fixes and reduce the size of the engine WebAssembly binary, improved image decoding performance, and allowed loading across origin images. Because that was always an annoying thing, right? Because you're making if you don't use an image tag, then the browser has to do a XHR request, right, to get the data.
Yeah.
Which falls into that. You're now decoding in JavaScript. You're not decoding in the browser. Using the browser's engine to do the image decoding, and you're also fall into cross-origin problems as well because you're doing XHR. So XHR, XML HTTP request. Is that right? XML RPC request, whatever it stands. I can't remember what it stands for now.
Is that a
test? Huh?
Is that a test?
There was a Fetcher. Is it Fetcher? The web fetch. Yeah, there's like
there's a Fetch API.
Yeah, Fetch API, which is like the newer I think that's the standardization of the XHR protocols, mechanisms. It's going to bug me now. I can't remember what XHR stands for. XML HTTP request. Yeah, it was that original way that in browsers in the background could request content. So for those that are listening along at home, previously in Web 1.0, browsers, you would load a web page, it makes the request for the content, and the server returns that content, and that's it. If your web page has other things in it like CSS, JavaScript, and images, then those are more requests that the browser makes and returns back with. This is pretty much how it works today. However, once that JavaScript is now running in Web 2.0 land, that now once the JavaScript is running, it can actually make more requests of the browser to fetch content and return it to the instance of that's running, your web page instance that's running, and then it can use that content to load, to generate tags and to essentially dynamically load content and build the web page, which is pretty much now the main way that websites work a lot of the time. So it's like single page sites are pretty much, they download a bit of HTML and then they download their content via XML RPC and then render it as such. It's interesting actually. I was by the way, we're just filling time while you get your questions in. And as it says down the bottom, enter your questions in live chat with a queue in front, and we'll get them into our queue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came across this little thing the other day. I've got a NAS drive, and its interface is web based. It has like a virtual desktop kind of interface with like windows and stuff you can move around and interact with, but it's all browser based. And then it occurred to me they're doing something quite sneaky here, which is previously it would have been like a VNC kind of desktop experience where a lot of this kind of like home appliances, right? Or they're like, you have like routers that kind of have that web interface, but it's very very much a web page, like a web app.
Yep.
It's not really like a desktop experience.
Yep.
And by then putting a desktop experience as a web page and having all of the content going back and forth using like a XHR API kind of deal, it means that you kind of get into this realm of they can now offload all of the rendering of all. They literally don't have to render one pixel on the NAS drive. There's no need for a GPU. There's no need for like all this, like, or at least it has a GPU, but there's no need to use it for just operating the user interface, because that can be done by your browsing machine, like your mobile phone or your desktop. There's rendering in the browser. So there's like an interesting dynamic there, right? It's kind of interesting because we're also going back to server-side rendered content, which is kind of interesting, right?
Well, it's going in circles, right? It used to be server side, then it was client side, and now it's getting back to more like the server side.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because during the days of dial-up, your most servers would have a 10 megabit, 100 megabit connection. They could service many concurrent users on that one connection. Now home users are getting gigabit connections. Servers have gigabit connections. They don't really have, like to utilize, like to get a network, to get a like a data center to give you up a lot more bandwidth, and it costs a lot more money. And it's like, because they don't have infinite bandwidth, right? And the whole data center's got to run on a set of fixed what's the word?
Bandwidth.
Yeah, well, no, there's a name for
throughput.
Peering, fixed peers, right? So they they'll have a peering to other network providers and so on. But it's you just think that now, I think during that early time of Web 1, it was always requests going back and forth. This is consuming our bandwidth. Let's manage it on the client side a bit more with caching and everything else and resolve that. But then you kind of want fast. You want to kind of server-side render a bunch of stuff, so you get like fast cacheable content that you can push out via CDN that you can like live down to the clients rather than making it request-driven. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Everyone good in the chat?
So
Man,
my internet is flaky, so I probably
uh,
bounce in and out a few more times. I think. Actually, I have no idea of knowing. I can't predict it at all. I don't know why it was happening moments ago and didn't happen overnight entirely at all, and why it's happening all of a sudden today.
someone's outside with your internet
Yes.
wires. Just like
Yeah, it's just
there's like a little
big
gremlin,
sparks.
right?
Big sparks. Jacob's ladder. Right. Just enough to mess up my all my radio signals here. It's quite possible. Unfortunately, there's no wired interface downstairs here, so I have to rely on the Wi-Fi between here and upstairs. But it's usually pretty good. Got pretty good bandwidth most of the time. So whatever. Anyway, I'm sitting here marking off items that are coming in. Thank you for posting your questions with Q colon in the front. That is
Someone
helping
asked,
us.
do live coding suggestions require queuing from them? We normally do just so we can find them, but say it's for live coding and we can go to that.
Yeah.
Which I've actually
And notice he didn't put Q colon in front of that, so I don't know why you brought that up. Q colon with Q colon, yes.
So yeah, we could talk a bit about some architecture and view models and why you might want view models and maybe do a little example of that. But yeah, we'll see. Let's get rid of that. There you go. Where are we at? Let's see.
We've got 5 or so in the queue at this point, counting live coding.
Yeah, Matthew, you're right. But wait, feel free to come on the show, Matt. You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
We're man down today.
Yes.
So.
Let's see. Push this button there. Okay. I'm getting close to pushing out my next Dart and Flutter YouTube channel post. I've got a nice one on warming up providers once again, but doing it an entirely different way from the 7 other ways I've already posted. So
I love the way that people always come back with that. You know, what is the correct way of doing something? It's like whatever way makes best for your app. Like, I mean, because the answer to that is really dependent on so many other variables inside your like how you've done your code, what structure you've done previous things in. There's a better way of maybe linking two things together. Like, it's about learning your tools, and then you know what tool to use for the job, right?
right. I will say that part of the reason I'm doing it again is that I wanted a slightly different take on it, but also I wanted to see what kind of assistance I would get from Gemini Code Assist, because I have access to Gemini Code Assist, and I was saying I would keep asking it, well, is there a better way to do this? And it was actually coming up with some useful ways. About 2/3 of its suggestions were useful almost practically as is, which is pretty high, better than I get from, like, say, I was getting from Copilot and stuff. But it also understands the entire code base, which is nice. So I don't have to specify particularly what file I'm talking about in my setup. The only downside is when it suggests just a snippet of code to insert. If you say then diff that with the file, it shows the whole rest of the file is being deleted, and if you apply it, it will do that. So it doesn't quite understand the concept of a snippet of code and how it applies to a snippet of the input. Although it gives correct snippets, you can cut and paste them into the right place. So anyway, so that's going to be part of this experiment and part of what I'm going to talk about in my upcoming, soon to be published YouTube channel video, which I will put the link to in the chat. As always, please subscribe and like.
Yes. Talking about that, we will do some live coding today, and we'll probably try and continue off some of what we did. I feel like we didn't finish off last week, did we? I can't remember what we're doing now.
It's
been a week. We were rushed to finish something, so maybe we'll look at what we did last time, or we'll take suggestions as was given in the chat. So yeah, please speak up.
We got to a stopping point. We definitely got to a stopping point. I know that. So it was just a matter of another feature you wanted to add on top of something. Yeah, that's often true. Yes,
it's always the way.
So,
we've got. I mean, it's very do you ever find that do you ever think that your code that you've written is now finished? It's now done. You don't have anything more to change with it.
Oh no, hell no.
I'm trying to think of. I know there's been times that I've done that, but it's always been like in a finite piece of code, right? Like a unit of work, like a class that does a particular job. It's like you could say you've got a stopping point and say that's done as good as it's going to get right now, right?
Yeah.
And then you start changing. You change some other things in the rest of the code, and then you're like, oh, that no longer is fit for purpose. I need to change it, right?
Well, I was going to distinguish between done and shippable. Shippable definitely happens before done.
Yeah. Like I say, there's also that thing on programs. Is it done or is it done, or is it done?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
At which point you say it's done, but actually it's not like ready to be shipped. Like it's
yeah, right.
Or you get conversely, it's good enough so it's shippable, but it's not
good enough to ship it. Yes, right.
It's not. Maybe I should do some unit tests. Maybe I should do some extra error corrections and logging and whatever else. Right.
Let's let the release testers test it.
Right. Yeah. Test it.
It's done with our testing. Our testing is done. Give it out to the code base. Give it out to the user base. They'll figure this out.
Hang on. We have another person. Hey.
Oh yay!
Hello, everybody.
Oh.
Wow! Incoming. All right.
Indeed.
So Matt, there's a question right here for you.
right. No, that actually, I was super excited to hear that because.
Is this like an American?
It's spreading. It's spreading.
He's back.
Okay, you're
back. We lost you there for a second.
What's happening?
You were paused.
Oh, you lost me? Oh my gosh, the American internet must be out. No.
Someone's cut one of those internet wires.
No, I was super excited to hear about the deprecation actually, because I did a project a while back where I was trying to create a Flutter front end for a headless CMS, and the cross-site origin problem bit me in the butt so many times. And the performance upgrades alone are worth it, but this it'll be nice to not have to deal with that anymore for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's still going to be cases where you're going to need to have your CORS policy set up. So for people that don't understand what we're talking about, you can just go look up CORS, look up CORS enable or web CORS. You'll find it. It's basically cross-origin requests.
Yeah, CORS and Flutter. Those two put together would be
cross-origin something or other. Cross-origin resource. I tell you what. There we go. If you have a web developer in your life that you hate, and you want to give them a bad day, sneak up behind them, whisper in their ears, CORS, and they will just have a meltdown on the spot. They will just absolutely on the spot have a total meltdown. They're done.
And then they just tell them the website broken. Something about CORS policy.
Yep.
The
totally ruined their day.
Solution problems. It's the impenetrable problem.
Right. Where we got now? So let's have a quick look for the chat. See if we got anything.
We got 7. If we want to start looking,
I'm just going to kind of peer through the chat, even ones that aren't followed by Q. What technical skill do I need to develop a successful IT transition coming from a nursing background? M&E. That's an interesting one. I mean, assume you mean like what technical skill to about build apps. I'm assuming that's why you're here. So, from a nursing background, M&E. What's M&E? Is that like emergency, like medical and emergency or something?
Here's what I will say, because I actually worked for a medical company at one point. Your value, and I'm not saying don't skill up on the tech side. I'm not saying that at all. Absolutely. But if you can understand the tech side and bring your medical knowledge, you are going to fit a very unique niche that a lot of other people can't do. And so I think I would lean into that if I were you. If I had that medical background, being able to bring medicine and tech, I 1000% think that you will do very well in the job market at the right places.
Find those places. If you can skill up on Flutter and find those companies that are using, there's quite a lot of medical startups and medical related technologies that are going to be, there are apps that are going to be built with a cross-platform solution, such as Flutter, or they want to use Flutter.
As a generalist programmer, I'm often consulting with people in the clients that I work with to get the domain knowledge. And so they offer that, they bring that to me. And so part of my skill is being able to quickly ramp up on domain knowledge. But if you can be the other side of that equation, where you can understand how to explain to a generalist like me what the domain side of the concerns are, how does data interrelate in what you're dealing with when you've got a piece of paper in front of you with 72 numbers on it. What's really the organization that's in your head as you're studying this? Because that's the stuff we're going to have to reproduce over on the data side to make sense out of it and to make displays that are relevant to you and relevant to providing the appropriate healthcare. So yeah, it's understanding sort of enough of what the generalist programmer's struggles are. So do some small projects to kind of get the feeling for that. But then what you'll be is the useful translator to take it from one end to the other. And that would be very valuable.
I can only speak from an American perspective and having worked for an American company. So if you are not from the United States, I apologize. This advice is going to be of varying value to you. I will say that in the United States, in the healthcare tech sector, the big word that everyone is worried about is interoperability. And that is getting healthcare systems to talk to each other. So healthcare companies have like major systems, and the most popular one is Epic, but there are a handful of other ones out there. And getting those systems so that they communicate with each other, and then also being able to build applications that run on top of those systems is huge right now. And there's a lot of opportunity sitting within that. So I think that there's some value there for sure.
So
that's the FHIR project, right? FHIR.
Yes.
It's
FHIR.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Interesting enough, you talk about this. It's like standardization, and so two things: making software that works with many different systems and interoperate is extremely difficult. When every company has their own way of doing everything, and they don't work the same scheme or mechanisms, and you've got to put shim layers in. It's just it's very challenging. It's the same thing that those companies that are like insurance comparison sites.
Finance in general is just
finance comparison. Think each one of those providers has a different way of doing something, and to be on a team of people working on like one of those things would be a nightmare for me personally, at least, because you'd be working with so many different systems and trying to make them all interoperate and work for you. What you need. Hang on. Then there's a point at which that insurance company becomes the de facto, or the one that people want to use instead of going to the individual companies. And now the individual companies want to change their APIs to match yours. And that's the flip in what happens. There's like a flip that happens when you're doing these things, right? Where suddenly now you've got a standard, right? And you're the dictator of that standard, or your side of the equation is the dictator of that standard. Now there are things like in standards bodies that get set up between companies, and that's where things like USB come from. Just off the top of my head, that's a bunch of companies that are competitors in the market all come together to work together so they can work with the same bits of hardware and the same systems and so on and so forth. But it's a challenge to be sure. Go on, sorry, Matthew.
No. I was just going to piggyback off of what you're saying, and you are 100% right in everything that you just said. But a real world example of what you were just describing is, let's say you've got a list of allergies that a patient has. You would think that would be like a universal thing stored in a similar way. It's not. Every healthcare system, and frequently implementations of every healthcare system, store that list of allergies in a separate way, in a separate database fields. They call them different things. And there are as many different ways of handling that problem as there are solving any solution in programming. So then you've got a problem of, okay, I need to communicate this list of allergies over from one system to another. And here's the kicker. if one of them falls off or gets misreported, the patient could die. That's like the level of insanity that you're working with there. And so like that was like the thing that was drilled into me when I worked in healthcare all the time. If we mess this up, somebody could die. And it's true. It's true. Like, you know, for most of us, if there's a bug, we go, we fix it, and it's an inconvenience to the business side. But in healthcare, like there's like that level of like, you know, it's not life and death, right? And
it's interesting. There's plenty of things that actually could like that's software driven that could result in someone's death. Like that's
okay, that's fair.
No. I'm not saying just healthcare, but I'm just saying you just said that. This occurred to me. The software that controls traffic lights.
Well, yes,
good example. Of, like, you get that wrong. Whoa, that's something's gone wrong. So there are systems out there that there's known ways of writing code, and there's actually I know several of the big agencies from different governments have recommended guides of how you should program things so that it's foolproof or near to foolproof as you can get, and they have policies and ways that you do things and everything else. But there's also ISO in Europe. We have ISO standards for those kind of things. And I just think it's just interesting that, like, you know, we're still such a young industry, right?
Yep.
Like so many like companies just there's not like, oh, we're going to do it this way because this is like the standardized way of doing this because everyone else did. No, most companies do whatever they want.
As a useful,
Go ahead, Randall.
I was just to say, as a useful resource, I've been reading for literally decades now this thing called the Risks Digest, which is like about every 3 or 4 day comes out with about 10 articles in a little digest form, or you can get them as individual mails. But it's all about the risks of computerizing things. And like around the Y2K time, of course, it was just going nuts, showing all the different ways that Y2K actually was broken behind the scenes, but we fixed it so nobody noticed. That's the problem, and we fixed it too well. We should have left some more problems. But it was great because Risks brought me the story that there was a 2001 problem because they fixed something in 2000 that actually broke it in 2001. And I love that there was that kind of reaction and response to stuff. But Risks is great. It talks about things like open access. Yeah, that's it. Open access ports. I mean, look, volume 34. I mean, it's been running for decades. And the kinds of articles in it are amazing. And it really informs you about just how fragile everything really is.
Read some of these headlines.
Yes, yeah.
No. Deadly Crashes trying to raise a question around the danger when things go wrong with the EV cars. Russian spies jumped to one network jumped from
AI chatbot tells student to die.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is an amazing publication, and you can subscribe to it in multiple ways. I've been reading this since before Y2K, so I know it's been a while. So definitely check that out. Yeah, it's.
I'll pop this in. I'll pop this in the chat for everyone.
I'm surprised you guys hadn't heard about this before. I've been.
No, I'm not. No, this is big citizen. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what's this? I've not heard of this. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got RSS links as well, so that's great for most sort of readers. I will also mention that for the actual original question, we've gone off way into the weeds on this one. The original question was asking, where was it? I've lost the question now. Here it is. Was what would you recommend to learn? I'm sorry about this. We're talking about all these other things. This is what we'd recommend.
Yes.
So I'll post the link in the chat for this. This is the Flutter developer roadmap. It is a very sound way of learning. So it takes you go top to bottom basically and start learning, follow the links to the various pieces, like, you know, what function is, what dartpad is. You can read the links and articles and so on and so forth. Follow the trail all the way down. And hopefully by the end of things, you can launch an app in the Play Store. And then here's the key, you can keep learning. So this is just a nice little trail that you can follow from one thing to the other to learn what it is to build like maybe Flutter apps and the things that go into the various things that go into them. It's not a definitive list, but it's certainly one of them.
It doesn't have at the end of the roadmap how to deal with rejection from the store.
Oh, that's
How
He's
to
a
deal
little,
with
he's a little
rejection.
spot there. Bar. I have a picture of a bar.
how to deal with rejection. I just want to say I was looking at that, and it as a former Bitrise employee, it warms my heart to see Bitrise on that development roadmap. So
Nice.
whoever put that there, my purple heart thanks you.
Yeah.
There's also another one that's on the list. If I can send into the chat, if I can find where I put it. Yeah. Is the Flutter. This is one's old, the highly subjective roadmap to Flutter development, and this has a similar concept. It's on GitHub. I'm going to bring it up here. There we go. Banners. And again, follow it through. There's various materials and things you can go to link from here, and you'll see all the links below. So this is a nice, again, another roadmap that you can follow to help you learn. I mean, there's lots of these around. Again, we caveat all these things. There's no particular right way or wrong way of doing these things. Just know that there's many ways to skin the cat, as they say. Right. Where are we? Should we have another question?
We got some number of questions. Let's see what.
Let's see if I can sidetrack us on the next one. That's what I'm good at, is sidetracking
the render
conversations.
objects or Swift package manager one. That one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so maybe I can answer this one because I was migrating view of packages.
Go for it.
Yeah. So currently, when you have iOS dependencies, we are using the thing which is called Cocoa Pods, which is written in Ruby. It's like the historical project dependency manager, something like Gradle in Android. And a few years ago, Apple made their own finally, which is called Swift Package Manager. And basically, the advantage is that Apple supports it, and you don't need Ruby installed to build the app. So that's basically it.
Yeah. Basically,
and the Cocoa Pods will be deprecated or in maintenance mode.
So generally speaking, the idea is to replace all of the packages that use pods right now with Swift Package Manager.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you're going to get outdated. So if you own a plugin right now, or package that has a plugin, you need to migrate it to Swift Package Manager. There is a guide, isn't there, on the site?
Yeah.
See if I can find it. Swift Package Manager for plugin authors. That sounds like about the right thing. Oh, we lost Randall again. I'm sure he'll be back though.
There's one for plugins and there's one for app developers.
Yeah, so if you run a plugin, I mean, this is, to be honest, this is the big one, right? I think for if anyone has got any sort of plugin or they've custom one they're doing in their app, this is what you need to follow to get your app moved over to using Swift Package Manager. Very important that everyone does this, that has a custom plugin or relating to their code. I'll pop a link to that in the chat. And what you were saying, that there's another one for app developers and how to migrate to Swift Package Manager. Let's have a look here. Yeah, here it is.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
For app developers, you just enable the support and it will migrate your app.
Got to config enable Swift Package Manager.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you can enable on particular projects. Okay. And, manifest, globally turn it off. I think here's another thing, right? I'd said to other people that are watching right now, I think everyone should turn this on, try and build your app. If there's a problem with pack plugins, go report them, make issues. If they haven't already got issues on switching over to Swift Package Manager, and post the link for the plugin authors to them, because they're not going to, some of the people don't even know these are coming. And unless we get the word out there, your app's going to be depending on packages that you won't be able to use anymore, right? So yeah, time is now. Time is now to get
but currently they recommend to support both, like the SPM.
But what I'm trying to say is at the moment, if you try and build it and it doesn't build because the plugin doesn't support Swift
Sure.
Package Manager, raise an issue and let them know that they should support it, right? And post
The
it.
sooner the better.
The sooner the better, yeah, indeed. There you go. Right, what's next?
I hate CocoaPods. Sorry, go on.
Well, yeah, no,
Not only you.
Honestly, I hate Maven Package. I hate all of these systems. They're just a massive pain. Some more than more. CocoaPods is definitely one of the more archaic ones that is painful, but yeah, Ruby as well. Well, anyway, right.
Can we go back to the good old days of just copy pasting code from SourceForge? Can we just do that? No.
I'll be honest with you. I really like the day. I say this now. But I know it's going to bite me in the arse. I really do like make files. The simplicity of having a make file, which is like you can set rules. Here's your source from to the temporary files that if they get your dependency chain basically, and you get to decide what is what and how it works. And it just doesn't work with a larger project, to be fair. But I feel like there's somewhere. It's the same reason why there's so many build systems, right? Your dependency on how you need to build or what you need to build is very, very unique to your app normally. And there's a generalized approach to that. Like, you have to run a certain set of commands before you do something. But a lot of the time, if you're doing your project, as your project gets larger and larger, there's a build process gets more and more complicated.
My beef, and I don't want to derail this any further, but my beef honestly comes back to, I think a lot of people who are new to development see package managers as a way of just making this problem go away. Oh, someone else solved it. I'll just throw this package in. Hey, Randall's back. And they don't really evaluate what it's doing or look at the code or determine what is actually happening before they just throw it into their code. And that's concerning.
I've got a perfect example of this. So there's reasons why you might want to do it a certain way. But anyway, I was looking at SQLite earlier, some of the SQLite packages on Pub, and I wanted to use FFI. There's actually the default SQLite package will always use plugin by default, unless you're using like common FFI package or whatever. But anyway, we looked at the source code. It's actually all it is on Android specifically. It just adds a make file, updates the grader file to build it, and then it has the plugin is literally a massive wrap up for one line: system.load library SQLite. And I'm like, you can actually call that directly from FFI. You don't need all the plugin stuff around that. You don't need all this stuff. It's like it ends up being like relatively 2-line changes to your actual project, and then the one make file that you just chuck in the right directory. And I'm like, so there's kind of examples here where it's like, what are you? Look at the library and see how it's doing what it's doing, and if it's only one thing you need from that, maybe just copy it in and put a little thank you in.
I've done that multiple times, and I've actually left comments in the code. It's like I shamelessly stole this from and then pasted the GitHub.
Do that. It's not just that. It's also a case that obviously check your licenses. We know we're not saying most license MIT, Apache 2, whatever for commercial use. Sure. But the key here is like always when you do bring something into your project, put the source, put why you brought it in. Like comment those things, because I can trust you. When you're not around, no one else knew why that was brought in, and then they start removing stuff, and they're like, "Why is it now broken? Or why is it not working? Or whatever it is, right?" Like, yeah. Anyway, right. Let's carry on with some questions here. So, could you please categorize render objects? As in, I need you to clarify your question.
Object.
Categorize as in explain them, or categorize them as in list the types of render objects and how they work, perhaps. So clarify which of those things you want, and then we will talk about it, because we could be here all day otherwise. All right, what's next? Is the next big thing for Flutter WASM? Why do they use Skier? Okay, so first of all, WASM and Skier are not exclusive to each other. You use Skier, which is the rendering engine, and that's built, and then your Dart code is compiled to WASM. These work together, and they're not replacing Skier on web with Impeller, not anytime soon, as far as I understand it. Maybe if web GPU ever lands, that might be a different case, right? But Now, for the moment, WASM will compile and use the skier libraries on web, and Android will use Impeller and be compiled to native. Yeah. I mean, any input from you guys on this? Not much to add, really. All right. Where can I get a Dash teddy bear? Can't find one anywhere
What's
online
a teddy
to buy,
bear?
based in Europe.
Which
What you need to do, Johnny,
are
is
teddy bears?
these Dash plushes.
The birds. They're
The bird.
birds. not
Well,
teddy
yeah, I mean,
bears.
Yeah, but they're all called teddy bear. Like generally, stuffed toys are also called teddy bears, right?
Not in the United States.
Oh my God,
No,
you're gonna have to hold off talking because it's really bad.
Yeah,
kind
you
of
also look
amazing.
like a you look like a 1990s digital.
Reboot your router and see if that fixes things. Or go sit closer to it. One of the two, right? Yeah, he's gone. He's rebooted. Right. Where can you can't buy them. They're not buyable. The Google team will bring them to events. So come to places like FlutterCon where you can possibly get one. So there's a FlutterCon this year as well. I don't know if the announcements have been made yet. So hang on, we're going to check. I don't want to be talking too soon. So let me give it 1 second. Have they been made? Yes, they have. So 24th to the 26th of September next year, FlutterCon. That'll be happening. That's FlutterCon in Europe. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to ask where the location was.
So it will be in Berlin, at City in Berlin, alongside DroidCon Berlin. So I will, if people are interested, I will post the link. Here's the Twitter link, so you can follow them on Twitter. You can get the link there. Also, if you want to submit a paper, the call for papers is now open, and I will put a link to that in the chat as well. Those who want to participate. If you've got a nice, interesting thing you've been working on, or you want to explain some concept or technology you've been building as part of your app, now's the time to show it off to people. Get the permission from your company, and away you come.
They said no last time. I'm going to have to try to pitch it again because now we've launched. Yay, and we're public.
Yeah.
So
now it's different. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I'll get you a schnitzel in Germany. So so you can't get them, but if you come along to the event, so I'd suggest you come along to 17th of December. Lots of meetups are doing a special watch parties and things for a Flutter announcement event that's happening. Maybe they've got some dashes to give away at those things, or just keep going to like the meetups and the local, contributing to various Flutter things that are going on, and you'll probably find someone or somewhere where you're coming along and there's some dashes to get hold of. The big ones are very rare, but you'll probably find yourself a little mini dash, one of these guys. Baby dash. Baby dash. Anyway, right.
Thanks, Simon. I've got Baby Shark stuck in my head now, but to the tune of Baby Dash. And I blame you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Right, what's next? Hey team, I've been trying to run WoW shopping app that Simon recommended me, but I'm struggling to launch it on my system. Can you kindly guide me how to run it? Yes, sorry, this is my fault. There wasn't much run instructions. In the main dev Dart file, you'll find an IP address in a link. In fact, I'll show you on the stream here. Hang on. Basically, let's see if I can load this up. Get a better view. Right. Sorry, Matt, you're covered up there.
No worries. No worries.
So jump in here. What you want to do, set your run configurations. You want to run the server main dev entry point, and this will start your server up and listening on, I think it's port 8080 by default. and then what you need to do is go find your local IP address on your so your network settings on your Mac or your Windows machine. You can find this, your IP address for your local network, and then you want to go into the app folder, the app file, and change main dev in here, and pop that IP address in here. And what you're doing basically is telling the app that it needs to communicate over the local network to your computer, your main like laptop or home computer that you're running the server on, and that's where you can get the data from. So this is going to be down to your unique network or how you set things up. Obviously, if you deploy the server to a Cloud Run, for example, or something like that, you get the address from Cloud Run, you pop that in there instead, and lo and behold, you've got a cloud version of the backend running. We could probably put together a proper guide on doing that at some point. But yeah, it's not been a rush to do that at the moment. I have zero time to do these things at this present point in time. Feel free though, if you want to do that, submit some PRs. I see there's a couple of PRs there actually. I should review. But, yeah, submit a couple of PRs and we can get it working. All right. Do you have Gemini the answer about Flutter question somewhere? I think Gemini does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say.
That's right. Talking about, right? Isn't it like a code? I have no idea. Rando's not here. We'll save the one for Rando if he gets back. Rutvik.
So
do you want to go through these and whilst I'm finding more questions?
Real quick. So I was looking for animations like coins going from one widget to another responsively, but didn't find it. Like coins animation, how can I do that, or where can I find how to do it? So I guess there's two answers to that question. When you say coins going from one place to another, that makes me wonder if you're not trying to make a game in Flutter. And if that's the case, look at the Flame engine. I have been playing around with it, and I've actually had really good results with it. It uses you get all the game engine niceties, but you also keep your Flutter workflow, and so you can continue using Flutter widgets. You can continue using Dart code, all the things that you're used to. You can pull in packages from pub, and all of that still works. So that would be my suggestion there. Regarding animation, there are a ton of different ways to.
No, America's
another one.
Do just.
Oh,
hey.
Oh, keep going.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, America, USA. What was the last thing you guys heard me say?
There are a ton of ways of doing that.
Oh,
yes.
There's a ton of different ways of doing animations in Flutter, and so I guess I would need more specific answers as to what you're doing. But the nice thing about if you are trying to do a game with the Flame engine, you can get like the location of different sprites that are based around the screen, and then you can like create animations based off of that and paths off of that. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Maybe Rutvik, if you can explain what you. So you said you're trying to make animation like coins going from one widget to another responsibly. So what you're saying is maybe there's some coins, and when they collect that coin or they click on it, it could like zoom across somewhere on the screen and kind of go to another widget. Is that what you're trying to do?
That's how I'm reading it, and that's why I'm asking: are you trying to make a game, or is this just like something you want to do in a vanilla Flutter app?
So generally speaking, let's say your entire, let's say you're not using any sort of libraries or anything else, right? You're just using Flutter. To do that kind of thing, what you're essentially doing is you're wrapping your entire wherever you need to move this on the screen, that's going to be wrapped in a stack or something similar, right? And then what you're doing is this is effectively what's happening, right? I'm not saying you should do this, right? Just bear with me. I'm trying to explain it. So imagine you've got your two widgets on the screen somewhere nested in the widget hierarchy in their position, right? You wrap the whole thing in a stack. When you tap on that one, it can go up to the stack, right? And tell it, move from this position on the screen, because that's where it knows where it is, to the other position where the other widget is on the screen, because it's got like a global key or it reports its position. And now you've got the two positions, you can just animate from one to the other and run an animation. That's effectively what happens. However, you don't really want to have to do that each time. You don't want to have to do all that stuff. So there are some nice ways of doing this. So, for example, when you go from one route to another route, you can have what's called a hero animation, which will do this kind of sizing and moving for you. And what it does is every navigator injects a overlay widget, which is a stack of layers. This is the way that the navigation system works. That's how pop-up menus work. So when you tap on a menu or a dialogue and it pops up, it gets put in the overlay system, so it layers on top. So what happens when you do a hero is it injects the widget the widget builder, it runs it and gets the output, puts into a overlay entry that moves across the screen and goes somewhere else, and it controls that. There's a great package called Local Hero. A local hero is a way of essentially moving widgets on the screen automatically. You just move the widget and it will animate for you, and it'll just do it all magically for you. And it does that using the same techniques I'm just talking about. So basically it works the same way as normal heroes, but within the same route. So local_hero, I think, is the package name.
I've got another package I need to bookmark now. I was not familiar with that.
Let me see if I can find it. I mean, it does the job for most things. Made by Romain Rastel, our friendly Frenchman. Oh, look, I haven't liked it. He'd be annoyed. It's not like it's like now. There you go. So you can do stuff like this, right? So he's just changing it, and the widgets will change. Like change the position, swapping them around. Anyway, the point here is it's as simple as you put a scope widget in, which holds the state. Again, it's higher up on the widget stack, like a stack. It's just there. And then the widgets inside, you wrap in a local hero widget and give them a tag. What happens is the next time a build takes place, it finds the same widget with the same tag and moves it to that. It does the animation for you. So wherever this lays out to on the next frame is it will move it if it's not the same. And that's about as simple as it gets. The local hero has local hero scope has like duration curve, and there's a bunch of overrides and cool things you can do. But basically, yeah, you can like zoom out. There you go. So no, you can't really see that thing. Whatever. Anyway, you get the point. Right. Back to that's maybe an interesting way of doing it. To kind of, I guess, it really does depend on what you're building and how you're building it though. There's ways of doing this, and I could show you. We could maybe have a look about how you build like code something like this yourself. So maybe that's a little coding topic we can look at in a minute. Right, we're gonna leave the questions open for another 10 minutes, and then so at 10 past the hour, we'll close off questions. So get your questions in now, everyone. Right, let's see where we are. What's the next question coming in? Right, doing this one-handed. Right, where are we? Gemini. Yeah. So Randall said, sorry guys, gonna sit the rest out, so we're not gonna see him back the stream. Just from this is from George, the main organizer of Flutter London. We've actually got it's called Flutter in Production, which is the event which is happening on the 17th. That's next Tuesday. Not just in London, there's plenty of places around the world that are plenty of meetups that are actually hosting Flutter in Production watch parties and things. So go check them out on meetup.com. You're looking for what's called the Flutter Meetup Network. Right. So when it comes to the old Gemini question, I think we'll have to pass for that one for next week. Right. Next question. Go on, do you want to read it? You can read it.
No, any guides on what to engage new to Flutter? I'm guessing that
I think this maybe is and this might have been a question that was in the queue from earlier because we posted the roadmaps. Check out the roadmaps I posted earlier. I think that's what I'd say.
What is the safest way to deal with async use of build context? We do async Firebase data retrieval, ask user for confirmation, and then async call to persist data. Is mounted check sufficient?
Don't. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and I think it's one of those things when you look at like when you're writing software, you're like one function calling the next function, calling the next function. And it's very much a chain. It's called the chain of responsibility. And what's kind of interesting is most programming is that, right? However, this is when you start getting to patterns, you start realizing, well, hang a minute. If this is asynchronous and things can take time and go, it's not as simple as A equals B equals C equals D, right? And at the end of it, the thing that you started with may not exist anymore, which is what can happen here. So what can happen is that your context disappears on you. Now, give an example. Okay, let's say we'll use the Gmail app as an example. You're in the Gmail app, you're looking at your inbox, you press compose message, you type a message, an email to someone, you hit send. You then return back to your inbox and start looking at another email message. And magically on the screen pops up error failed to, I don't know, resolve host or something. You know, why am I seeing this error message? What could have happened in that situation if it was programmed incorrectly? The reason why you don't see that on Gmail is that when the message came back to say it failed, rather than post that to the user, because they knew they'd left the screen, it doesn't display it. And that's where that is mounted check kind of comes from. Once you finish, you can say, am I mounted? Should I continue to interact with the user about this asynchronous process finishing? However, another example of that Gmail one is you type your message, you hit send, they go back to a different screen, and then it pops up with a toast maybe at the bottom screen saying, sorry, failed to send you a message, you want to retry? Now that is very much a global state thing now, right? So now you're saying, okay, I'm not caring about the direct return of the asynchronous process I started from the compose screen. What I want to do is that started in the app state, or the state of the app in the background, as it were, right? Not as part of the UI. And then what happens is if it fails, we send a message saying error occurred to some stream. And that can then inform the top layer of the app that it should display a pop-up message and they can retry it. That's the kind of thing that you actually end up doing, right? And that's where it comes in with what you're talking about here. What is the safest way to deal with async using use of build context is don't pass your build context through. And instead, you said here we do async Firebase data retrieval. Well, okay, it's probably async to retrieve and store inside the app, or async to retrieve and display. Ask user for confirmation and then async call to persist data. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when in that scenario that you're saying there, I don't see how context is apart from the ask user for confirmation, right? Then that's something that I would post back to the UI to as I said, like post off a message and return back with a response and continue it. So what you do if I was to build that, maybe depending on what you're doing, you start the process off to sync data or whatever it is, and then it has to fetch the data, do whatever it needs to do, ask the user for confirmation, and then it needs to persist it, right? As far as I'm understanding from this. So you start the process off, and then you wait for the response to come back, and that response is injected into a app state or stream that the front end is now listening to. And inside that state that you're changing, it has a function to continue if the user says yes. So that can still be defined where you started the process off, but you're putting the function into your state. And then once they confirmed it, then you call that function to continue the process of persisting the data.
That is exactly what it took me a while to figure out, like what the question was, but that was exactly what I was thinking. Is like this feels like something that should be done inside of the state management as opposed to the presentation layer. So you should be doing it at the repository layer and then listening for those changes in the UI and reacting accordingly.
Yeah, so you can imagine you've got like a sync manager or something, right? Some sort of entity that's in the background that can be unit test that's completely separate, and it has a stream that you can listen to of events from the sync manager, like ask, and one of those events could be ask user for confirmation event. right? And it just has the text that which you need to show the user, and then the function to call if they return say yes. Now that in itself has nothing to do with UI. It doesn't know anything about Flutter. It could just be Dart code. You've just defined a class with some strings and some functions. Now on the front end of your app, you can make a little host widget that listens to that stream or that change notify, whatever you want, whatever asynchronous name your method, and then once it gets updated, you can then go, oh, I should display the user show dialog from context, alert dialog, and put that content that was in that event, and then once they've hit the yes button, you can call that function, and you're done. Now let's kind of link those two things up. Now you've got a mechanism inside your app that at any point you need to display a user dialog box and ask them for some action. You can do that from wherever you are, from any backend code in your app, and you haven't violated the fact that you're trying to pass context to the backend. Now your backend of your code has no notion of what Flutter is and the UI. And that's the separation we're talking about. That's what you want to do.
I don't know what your architecture looks like. If you haven't implemented a state management system, take a look at Riverpod stream providers. They might be a good fit for what you're trying to do.
Streams can kind of maybe start with a simpler one, but streams are kind of. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just thinking that for some new people, streams are a bit to get their head around.
Sure.
To be clear, the idea of a stream is you set up a pipeline, right? A series of events, things to do with a piece of content, and then you can listen to that pipeline for as data flows through it, what comes out at the end. So it's like that's kind of
Subway sandwich bar.
Yeah,
the way I describe the way I describe streams, it's like and again, I don't know if you've got
so American, by the way.
Yeah. Go to your Subway and the stream is like the dude behind the counter, right? So you put in your order, which is the sync, right? You drop your order at the beginning, which is you tell them what you want. And then the stream transformer is the guy that's walking down the line, putting like the meat, the vegetables, the cheese. And then at the end pops out a sandwich, right? And so basically what you're doing is listening for a specific sandwich to pop out the end of the stream. And then when it's like your veggie delight, which is what I order because I'm vegan, then you display your dialogue, which I'm sure made no sense to anybody, but that's my great way of explaining streams.
All right, let's crack on because we're going to get to all these questions. I had to tick this, Callan. Sorry, I love that. Randall, I'm watching from a Glasgow bar for the Wi-Fi connection. Of course, yes.
You might be able to hear me. Can you hear me?
He's back. We can hear you. Yes,
we can hear you.
Awesome. You can't see me though. There's not going to be a good cam from here, but yes, I'm in a nearby bar that has Wi-Fi. So
you
that works out.
But amazingly enough, as I drove up, the four-way light here is blinking red, so there must be a power outage in the area. And luckily, this bar is powered up. I don't know how.
I think this kind of leads on to the question earlier. Luckily, the software didn't stop and the lights do something.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I'll stay muted when I'm not talking, so you won't hear the background noise.
Yeah. Got to know, Randall. What's your beverage of choice? What are you drinking at that bar right now?
Right now, it's a diet cola of some generic kind. I don't know which one of the three it is, but
gotcha.
That's a daytime drink. In the evenings, different story.
Got it. Fair.
Right. What's this? This is how can we fetch
demand-based data without loading the full database from a local file? Refer to last week's live coding session, and then they provide a gist.
That was the bit where we're going to continue. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute once we get to the live coding section. Whoops. Sorry.
I'm playing around with interactive viewer, and I'm experiencing that it fires on interaction end while a fling animation is ongoing. Is there a way to stop that animation?
I'm experiencing that it fires on interaction end when the fling animation is ongoing. I mean, shouldn't it do that? I mean, the interaction has ended. Now the fling has started. I mean, I honestly.
Okay. Now I get it.
Huh?
No. Now I get it. Why it's getting fired up? Yeah.
interactive viewer, eh? Let's
You're
have a-
dragging, but you finish dragging, but animation hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah. Let's see if we can bring this up on the stream just so we're all talking about the same thing. Yeah. All right, Randall, I'm going to swap you because that way you don't have a picture. Right. Yeah, interactive view. So those that don't know, this is like see if we can actually get this to come up on the stream here, Ron. There we go. So it's like it's well, this doesn't really help, but it's like a I can't do like a zoom in here. But anyway, it's like a virtual panel and plane that you can kind of transform around and work within. Yeah, so on interaction update, on interaction start, transformer controller. Yeah, I mean, so I would expect the on interaction end to take place. Yeah, gesture end. So your gesture has ended. So the point that they stopped their finger from interacting, the gesture's ended. The fact that you started a fling animation, well, this is where the transform controller should probably come into it. So you'll get updates on the matrix of the transform controller as the fling animation continues. But I can see where you're coming into problems because you probably don't know when the fling ends, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not seeing any callbacks for that. That's kind of interesting, actually. Yeah, I feel like that's actually missing from this. I think you have a very valid case to make a bug report. The thing is, you need to know when that fling animation ends, so maybe you can let them interact again, or to. It's a very common use case. I can't understand that there's no feedback on when. I kind of feel like these things should have an event stream. Like, you know, I don't think the control. This is just a controller is just for Matrix 4, right? Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of thing where you could have an event stream from the object, right? And then you can say, oh, the user performed this action, or this action's happening, and then you can react to the widget performing something or doing some sort of animation, right? But yeah, for sure, like there should be some event.
He has the follow-up question to that. Can he stop the animation?
Well, the idea here is don't use interactive viewer. You don't need to. Go look at the source code. That's what you need to go look at. When you actually look, I can literally show you how to do an interactive viewer in a few lines of code. It's not that. It's just one of those things where you don't remember. If you're not dealing with all this functionality it's given you as the input parameters, which I'm pretty sure you're not because it's a generalized widget, then you can cut back on all of the code that's in the normal widget and just to the one use case that you need it for. But yeah, so fling to be clear, fling durations, when you start a fling, it's called a simulation. It's not an animation. Slight variance there. And what I mean by that is it has an indefinite time of running until the simulation finds it comes to an end condition and then it stops. So normally you can if you look at animation controller, you'll see it has animate with, and you give it a simulation, and that means it will run the simulation. The output of the simulation is set on the controller, and it will keep running it until the simulation says it's time to stop. And this is how bouncing and gravity and all these other like spring animations work. Anyway, we can talk about that another time, but hopefully that kind of gets to the point. What's next?
I'm using RiverPod and want to call the fetch user data API in the main to get data on refresh, but I cannot use ref outside of the consumer and can't use provider container. Any alternatives?
Wait, how come you can't use provider container?
Yeah, that was my question.
Well, it's my question too.
Okay.
And actually, you weren't here earlier, Matt, or maybe you were listening, but I was talking about how I'm doing a new video and it's on warming up providers. I think that's actually going to be closer to what you want to do rather than mess around with provider containers in the main. So I will definitely watch the channel that I posted earlier I should have a video out today or tomorrow. Well, I guess it depends on the internet and power, I guess. But I should have a video out pretty quick that will answer this very question. But basically, you just need to warm up any provider that's asynchronous. And there are multiple ways of doing that. I've been offering various ways, including creating a provider container in main, in an async main, and then setting everything up in it. It might be that you're using container read to fire up the fetch state user API. And remember that that isn't a watch. It does not hold the data if the data is auto-disposed. So I'd see that as being a common problem for people trying to use that technique, is that they're not actually adding some sort of listener or adding some sort of keep alive to their data. And so they lose their data by the time their provider scope actually gets fired up with the provider container that they have. So yeah, I think that's the bigger plate. But I'm sort of leaning away from that. Remy's actually pushing me in the direction of leaning away from that sort of asynchronous main way of starting and doing it instead as a top level widget that does all the warm up stuff, because then that puts us already in the cycle that we're going to have access to the error widget and the error handling that's being set up for all of the app, rather than just try to do special error handling while we're trying to initialize the providers. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, there's also, I think this kind of comes down to a very similar topic. So, for example, if you're trying to navigate at your top level app widget, you can't do navigate of context, because the context that you're in is above the navigator. It's not below the navigator, right? So if you've got like your main entry point and you've got like a provider scope, and you need to make sure that you've got a builder in there, and then you can have a function that uses ref, right? You've got access to the context at that point, so you can get to the provider scope. So yeah, there's I mean, in that case, you can just use a consumer, isn't there like a widget that's like I don't know.
There's a consumer widget that's actually like a stateless widget. There's also a consumer that's just a builder. So you can insert a consumer with a builder anywhere you want. Yeah.
So you could, as long as you've got a consumer, so as long as you've got your provider scope and the consumer inside that, you can then put your rest of your app in that and still have access to inside that scope of the builder that builds the rest of your app. Inside the refresh function that you're defining, you can then have access to the ref. So yeah, you should be able to do that. Anyway, right, let's move on.
I am using Go Router when I do a hot reload. The app goes back to the root screen. I need access to the context in the refresh listenable, so I can't instantiate Go Router outside the widget.
I wasn't paying attention.
I'm using Go Router when I do a hot reload. The app goes back to the root screen. I need access to the context in the refresh listenable, so I can't instantiate Go Router outside the widget.
So the problem here is you're instantiating Go Router during build. That's your problem. Yeah. You need to do it in a init state and store the Go Router instance that you're building in a member variable, and then you use that with your material app.route. I mean, basically what's happening here is you're rebuilding your app. You're rebuilding your entire. If you're rebuilding your router during hot reload, then you're going to go back to the root screen. Yeah. You're going to lose your state. And that's essentially what you're doing. And you said you need access to the context in the refresh listenable. You do get that. So in a init state, you can do that. In fact, doesn't the refresh listenable actually pass you a context? I think it does. It's been a while since I looked at it.
Not sure. I haven't used it.
I mean, without maybe with Sana, maybe you can post if you go to was it gist.new? I'll post that link in the chat, gist.new. There you go. If you go to gist.new, you can take you to GitHub's Gist page. You can post your code snippet in there, and then when you create a public gist, or it can be a secret gist or whatever, get the hash from the URL after you've posted it. I'll pop that in the chat, and we can take a look at the code, and I can point you at the bit that's probably wrong. But truthfully, like, yeah, it's definitely, if it's rebuilding back to the root screen, you're losing your state. You're losing state because you're rebuilding something that you shouldn't be. Let's have a quick before we go on to something else. We said it was refresh listenable.
Refresh listenable, yeah.
So it's on the main Go router, isn't it? Refresh listenable. Oh no, it's just a listenable. Yeah. So here's the thing: when you build the Go router instance, you can still build that from your init state. You have access to the context. I mean, you can build, as I said just a minute ago, you could even place that widget that builds that inside something that that's wrapped inside your provider, that's wrapped with a provider scope or whatever else, however you're accessing your state. Just wrap it in the builder widget even. Like, there's lots of ways of doing that. But yeah, the problem you've probably got here is you're losing your state because you're doing it during build. That's why you're saying you need context. Interesting enough, there is actually there's a widget that's not often used. Is it state builder widget? I'm trying to remember what it's called now. Stateful builder. Stateful builder, that's the one. How many times have you used stateful builder? This is the kind of thing that it's kind of interesting, but equally I find it's just easier to make an actual stateful widget.
Yeah, I was just going to say, about the time that you reach for stateful builder, you're really, really close to just put a stateful widget in there. Just
yeah, I know, and so as you can see here, the idea being that you're updating this state. This has to be stored somewhere still, right? And the thing that's storing this probably needs to know that it's changed. So at that point, well, there's no point having a stateful builder. So basically, a stateful builder gives you a set state function. This is a function. And if you call that function, as shown here, then it will rebuild the contents of its builder. Which is
this is a stateful builder is a stateful widget minus init state minus dispose.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, why are you throwing those away? It's kind of half the purpose of a stateful widget, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
I am going to have to hop off here in a few minutes because I've got a work meeting that I have to go to. Boo. But next question. I'm integrating Stripe payment onboarding with WebView in my app. We need to give return URL to the app. I've configured a deep link for that, but it is not returning to the app. Are you confident that you have configured the deep link correctly? That would be my first question. Deep links are gnarly, and you have to, I'm assuming you're doing mobile as opposed to web or desktop. So if you're on mobile, you have to configure stuff with Apple and Google to make it work correctly.
You don't actually need a deep link to make that work, believe it or not. So I know what this is. So basically the return URL you put as something that's specific to your app. And then inside your web, there's a very particular bit inside your web views. Let's go dig this up. You can deep link, so just be clear, but it means it goes from the web view and it can go out and come back into the app, but not all web, depending on which web view widget you're using, it may not support deep link. But there's actually a nice way of doing this, which is I'm about to show you if I can remember my packages.
Like custom client?
No. Right. So the official WebView package has a navigation delegate.
That'll do it.
Is literally this bit here. So you do on navigation request, and inside the request, you look at the URL. And if the URL is your return starts with your return URL, then you just prevent the navigation. And then in this same bit here, you can just do navigator.of-pop. Or finish your onboarding process, or whatever your payment is. Take them to the thanks payment screen, right? Because the web browser has navigated to the return URL. It doesn't have to successfully go there, you see. It just has to start the process of trying to go there, and you're intercepting it with this method called on navigation request, and that's the way you deal with that basically. So yeah, now hopefully that helps. And yeah, you don't need deep linking. Remove all the deep link configuration for it. You just don't need it. if you're doing it in WebView, this is. If you're trying to launch that as an external link, so it launches a browser, then you definitely need a deep link to come back from the browser back into your application. And that's a separate proposition. So I'm just saying that
he specifically says he's using a web view. So
yeah.
this will do
so
it.
That's why I'm thinking this is the easiest solution, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I have to hop off, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. It's always fun to come and hang out with you guys.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. I'm going to hop off and I will see you guys later.
See you later.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. Right. One more question. Let's see what we got. Alberto, I want to implement acceptance tests on my app, but I think integration tests are slow for that. What do you think about widget testing for acceptance tests? I mean, yes. I mean, what do you mean slow? I mean, it's about how you write your test.
And really, what does it matter how long it takes to run? I mean, you say go and you come back later and it says yes. I mean, that's really all you worry about.
The thing is, yeah, that's one thing. I mean, it depends on, I don't know when you're running these acceptance tests. Are you trying to run this before you commit code? Are you trying to run this in automation on your commit before it can be merged? Are you, you're just running into acceptance tests before you release? There's a, I'm assuming these acceptance tests are more like feature-driven acceptance tests, maybe. Maybe about your acceptance criteria. I mean,
and what is this gating? Because if it's acceptance test, it's accepting it into what phase? What is it doing?
Yeah.
What is it gating? That's what I'd like to know. Yeah. Also in the area of integration tests, Patrol was just rolled out last week, and I don't know if we've talked about that here yet today, but might want to bring that up and do a show.
Have they rolled out a new update? Have they?
Yeah, like they hit 1.0 or something, and so they were on observable Flutter last week. So yeah.
Well, it says here last published 15 months ago, 2.0.
Oh,
so.
Okay. I thought it was something new that they were.
I don't know. Maybe as an old. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I'm looking at the widget. Maybe I typed the wrong widget. Right, there we go. Patrol version 3.13, 5 days ago. That's more like it.
Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty slick. It looks like integration tests done correctly.
Oh yeah, Patrol is brilliant. I would recommend Patrol on all projects. Right, it's one of those things that. But this is one of those things when you're trying to this is Patrol is there to support the use case of actually running Flutter apps on device or in real world scenarios, whereas unit tests are there to run it completely headless. Then you can run integration. So integration tests, to be clear, can be run headless. Like they can be running on. It depends on what you're accessing and how your code is running. And you're talking about slowness. That's down to you running your tests. I mean, you need to run the tests that let you test the acceptance of whatever you're gating, right? So however you need to run the tests. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm it's a cop out that's saying it that way. Did you say anything in the chat? Yeah, Alberto's here. You're really struggling to clear the notification stack on Go Router. You just do Go, don't you? Pushes and Go clears.
Yeah. Go just cleans the navigation stack.
That's it. You just Go Router Go Router of context go wherever the route is that you're trying to go to. And that's it. You've cleared the stack. It'll go to the new page and clear the stack. Right.
That's about the Go Router, yeah.
Yeah. I think I was just chatting about that. Sorry. I thought it was from a previous one. Anyway, I think that kind of covers it. Oh, there's one more coming. Right, this is the last question, and then we'll get to some live coding. I was wondering if Google has some resources so we can organize weekly in-person Flutter meetups. Since my zone in Lithuania EU, there's nothing happening. Maybe you can send some plushes to EU. So yes, there is. It's called the Flutter Meetup Network. You can apply to join it. There is there's a whole point. There's a whole bit on how you set up a meetup, and let me see if I can find you the page.
And you can also look to see if there's a Google developer group in your area, and if there's none of those, you might want to start one of those too.
Yeah.
Or instead of.
I would go so far as to say, go see if there's a GDG group, a Google developer group near you, and talk to them about Flutter and do Flutter events and becoming a part of the Flutter Meetup network. I mean, I don't know if there's much to be added to that, but yeah.
Right. And you can get in contact with people from the Google developer group by joining the Google developer community Discord, which has got a lot of GG and GDG on campus people as part of their channels. So that's a great way to kind of get real-time information about people.
Start things off, and we'll see where we go. Right, you are. So what are we doing? We're doing some live coding, right? Yeah, we did that one. Oh yeah. Did anyone come back? Can you come back around this? Can you please categorize? Did anyone come back on that one? I don't think I saw anything.
I don't think he did.
Oh well, next time.
I think I categorize them as good. I think they're good.
Yeah.
And the good versus bad. Do they get the lump of coal or do they get the toy? They get the toy.
Yeah. So we were talking, I remember now, we were doing a local database last week, weren't we? That's what it was. And let's see if I can get rid of that. We could, I was talking about adding an index to this, wasn't I?
All right, guys. So have fun. Or you, Simon, have fun.
Are you going to head off? It's pretty late there for you, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I will go to sleep then.
Thanks, Rafael.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Yep. See you next week.
See you later.
Yep. And then there were 1.5. The disembodied voice. The disembodied voice of Randall. Yes.
Which half of the horse are you?
At this point, probably the back half. Yeah. Not the talking part. Well, you're the talking part mostly.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Present.
There's supposed to be noise canceling on these earbuds. Is it pretty quiet?
It seems to be working. I mean, I'm not hearing like lots of background.
Okay.
So
the music here is not that loud, so it's not bad. The lottery machines are a lot louder than I think than the music.
Honestly, can't hear a thing. So
great. I'll just shut up about it then. I'll just be an audio input here.
Right. Let's see if we can get this going. I don't even know what we're doing. Right. Let's see. What was the latest one we did last week? Meetups. That was it. We're doing this database thing, weren't we? Yeah. I remember this. And we created an app to list them on the screen, and we wanted to add a mechanism to. Let's continue that. Do some feature work on this, and then we'll go from there. Ashutosh is using web. Yeah. Now, look, bring your question in for next week. We'll take questions around the live coding because we need to separate the show up because otherwise we don't get bits that show people are interested in. So yeah, come back next week and we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, there are plenty of resources online and places and people you can communicate with as well. So
go to flutter.dev/community, and there are the links to the Discord and the Slack where you can get questions answered 24/7 there. I'm often there 24/7, it seems, answering questions. So feel free to use those.
And then we'll do an example of MVVM. In fact, we could do MVVM lane with this. I think you'll like that. Right. So what we got? So here's a list. So what we did previously was it took us a bit, but for those that don't know, this was posted in a gist. So if you want to actually work alongside us and have a play around, I will post the link to the gist in the chat. There we go. And if you guys want to grab this code and try it out, be sure to you can go find it there and copy and paste it. There is a meetups.jsonl file. So for those that don't know, a JSON-L file is a JSON file where each line, is a file where each line is a JSON object. And that way you've got something that you can like link, you can easily kind of access and work with. Anyway, you could have this as an array, but then you would have to load everything. The nice thing about having it as JSON-L is, let's say you just want to load, like, you knew that this is where an index comes from. If you know that, say, Chicago, Flutter Chicago here, right? This is on line 16, which puts it in index slot 16, right? So if you wanted to like not have all of this in memory, let's say we had hundreds of thousands of entries, we wouldn't be too much to load into memory. So what we do is, as long as we have an index that says Flutter Chicago is on line 16 of the file, then we can load that on demand as required, and it goes normally into a cache. That cache is what's called a LRU cache, or least recently used. So basically, the more frequently accessed items from the file will be kept in memory. And this way, you get to have access to all of the content without having to load it all into memory at the same time. This is very critical to how a database functions, because databases are very much normally too big to have loaded into memory all at once. That's the whole point, right? There's not enough RAM to hold the entire thing. Okay, so we're being quite naive, and it's a quite simple example, but we load the entire file. So we split the file into lines and do a decoder from JSON each one to load out entries. We could store a index alongside this, and we wouldn't need to do this, as I just said, right? But we'll get there in a minute, right? We have an entry, which is a link name and location. And then when the app starts up, it creates a feature to load and create that database instance in our as we're running. And then after it loads, we show like a little loading spinner whilst it's doing that. And once it's loaded, we show the home of the app, and we pass across the database instance that we loaded. Actually, as I said this before, we didn't actually need to have this instance here with the way that we were doing it. I didn't remove that code from before because we pass it over here. But yeah, doesn't matter. Right. And then inside the home of the app, what we're doing is we create a list view that lists the data. This goes to the entries in the database and lists them on the screen. And there we go. So at the moment, our database is very much one type of data, right? Which is, a database is just a general term. It's a place we store data, right? And access data. So I think a couple of things we could do here. So we want to talk about the question that came in earlier. I'm going to go dig up it was MD Yison said, how can we fetch demand-based data without loading the full database? Okay, this is what we were just talking about. From a local file, refer to last week's live coding session, blah. So this is what we're going to talk about. There's also, what I really want to do, this kind of comes into this, which is adding a search field. So it's been a way to search data without having to load the entire database to do a search. And we're going to do that, right? So I think those two things kind of come hand in hand. So the first time you create the data, so we didn't actually have a way of creating it. Our database are on custom format, right? It's just JSON-L right now. But we need a way of generating an index for the data and then being able to load that index. So what is an index to us? That's the first thing. So let's create an entry for an index, meetups index.
Probably don't want a line number based index because that means you have to read every single line to get there.
Well, no.
Probably want a character offset index so you can seek to the spot that you want to read.
Oh, that's that. Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. The only problem with
that's why I'm here. I'm the sidekick. I got to come up with this stuff.
The only problem with that doing that, right? So for what? Let me explain what Randall's talking about here. Let me open up the file. So, for example, we talked about Chicago here. Well, this line is line 16, but it's also a position in number of bytes into the file. So if you were to count all of this bit I'm highlighting at the top to here, that will get you to the same point inside the file, which apparently, according to this, is 1,622 characters into the file. But what's really kind of the problem with this is if any point above this changes, we have to change all of those offsets below by that much, right? You can do it. It's not a problem. I'm just saying that these are the trade-offs that you have, right, of creating an index like that. The other side of this is, again, the same thing goes if you do JSON-L, what I was thinking about keeping it simple is that you can, it's the same thing. If I delete this entry here, now the one that was, I'm going to leave it blank, the one that was 108 goes to 107. The one that was 109 goes to 108. Same problem, right? Same problem. Let's put that back, Flutter and friends. But again, this is about keeping your index up to date, right? So we'll go with line. Well, we could go with either. I don't think it makes any difference right now. If we go with the index, yeah, let's see where we go. Let's do let's get going here, right? So index, right? And our index is going to need to give us keep track of we'll keep track of a line number for the minute.
This is rapidly approaching the point at which SQLite is going to be.
I know. But this is like I'm not saying people should do this. I'm saying this is how it works, right?
You're rebuilding how indexing works in SQLite one step at a time. Yeah.
So there is actually a B tree implementation, which I just found on pub.dev. So we could look at integrating this to save us some time. So you can insert into the B tree, you can update entries in the B tree, and then you can search the B tree to get the values. We could just use that as an index and solving us the need to do it ourselves. Let's have a quick look and see what that's actually implemented like. Just doing a binary search. Okay, so look, split child insert. So they're actually being a bit more, obviously once it's in memory, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. Search node, where's my search node? Delete node, get node, update, search node, key compared to, no, increase, search node again, recursively. I mean, look, it's not the nicest thing in the world, but it'll get you there. Let's not go down that route. I think we could probably get away with something really simple, right? So we're going to index just on the name of the meetup right now. We could actually put column. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Someone said index and name column. Yeah, we could actually we could have an index on many of each of the fields. Let's create an index. Let's just create an index on the name, right? So we're going to have name, oops, string name. Do we want to have, yeah, I think we'll have this method. Do you know what? We could use records for this, couldn't we? Is that a good idea? Feels like it's a good idea. I might regret this in a minute. We'll find out. Since our database is quite simple, I think maybe we'll do that. So what we want to do is we want to have a map of, do we want to have a map? Yeah, string to name index. This is going to be really, well, maybe. We'll find out. It can only go wrong, right? It can only go wrong. So the collection package,
editors have undo for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not every idea is good.
Let's bring in the collection package. I think I've already got it in here. Yeah, good. Okay. So the collection package is a bunch of extensions and utilities on top of the standard sets of collections that Flutter offers us. When we load the entries, we also want to create the index. So we'll do that here. And right, so name index, we want to add, we want to say on that entry name, we want a particular line number. So we'll say index. And then we'll just do this. So what we're doing here, this is a little mapper that returns back an index iterable that gives you a record of the index number of the element to the mapped to the actual element itself. So we get index as an integer before the element itself. In this case, it's a line, which is a string, right? This is a record. This is a new type of in the latest versions of Dart. Now, I said index, but this is actually, let's put line and data. I'm going to mess things up here, but I like somebody saying that. Right. I did name index. It's not its index. Let me say this dot name index equals index. So it wants us to cascade. Should we cascade? Oh, we need it on this because I named it the same. So this is what happens when you. This is what happens. Half the problem is naming. Right. Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Just because I like it better. Right. Okay. So we're creating a name index to each line. We don't have to load the. We're building this index and we're loading the whole file to build the index right now. Once the index is built, however, we wouldn't have to have the file in memory. And the only reason we have to build this, if we would, sorry, not explaining very well. Okay. Once we build the index, if we were to store that index, we could just have to recall the index and not the entire file. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get. So we're going to do that, but give me a second here because we need to build it first. All right. So now we've got the index, name index. We actually need to sort it. So can we sort a map? We can't. We can sort on entries and then build those entries into a map. That's kind of I guess that kind of works from entries, and then name.
You also define. You could define a map, a splay tree map that's automatically sorted all the time.
Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it? That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, the iterable on that just comes out the order you want. Yeah, yeah. I've done that before. It's fun.
Does it automatically do compare? I think it does, doesn't it? If it's comparable, I think it
Yeah,
does.
if you get, I think it's, yeah, I think it inherits the comparable. So
There you go. If the compare function is omitted, the objects are assumed to be comparable and the companion is then compared to. Great. So we don't have to specify the comparator. There you go. So splay tree map for Bosch. Now we'll do it. So basically, what for those people at home watching, you can look up splay tree map, but in fact, I'll do it here just right now, just for. So you got the documentation. Oh, come on. So there you go. A map of objects that can be ordered relative to each other. We need the objects to be orderable because, funny enough, binary search as a function needs the list to be sorted. This is so that the binary algorithm, when it actually splits and subdivides the searching behavior, it needs to be sorted to do that. You can go look up algorithms. I'm going to go into it here. Anyway, so this means that we can now binary search the map or the sorted list of keys, we'll say that, for a particular value and go from there. So comparable. So if it's -1, if it's not values not in the list, oh, this returns -1. I wonder if you can't do a binary search in a map, can you? Is there like foundation, sorted list? So let's just see if there's actually any one of these implementations does what I want.
Actually, the whole point of map is that you can go directly to the entry you want. So now I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure
but we're
out
doing but here's the thing. What I'm trying to do is not have the full exact name.
We got partial matches. Yeah.
Right. So what I actually want to do here is just explain to people, where is it? So we want to essentially, the whole point of an index is that you don't have to have all the items or have all the data about the items, right? So instead of having to go through the entire list saying, is this the one I want? Is this the one I want? You go through and the binary search subdivides and looks at the middle one, goes, is this more greater than or less than the one I want? If it's less than, I know it's in the top half of the list. If it's greater than, I know it's in the bottom half of the list, right? Then it subdivides that top half again and again and again until there's only one item left, in which case that's the item that matches, right? So what we can do is we can make a comparison of one string to another and actually do essentially a starts with, because the longer string is always greater. You can also do a sub list on the string that's in the database and do the comparison on that, which does an equality match as well by the end of it, which is what we'll do. Anyway, we'll get there in a second. It sounds more complicated than it actually is. It's all done for us, right? So okay, so we create our index. It's sorted, which means it's sorted by the name. This is important. We're actually going to sort it on lowercase version of the name. We'll do all our comparisons in lowercase. That way the case doesn't matter, which is quite important when it comes to greater than or less than. You can go look up the ASCII table. I won't go into it now. Right. Okay, so now we want a meetups entry. I guess we can make a, if you could get, I guess the binary search is designed to find one item, not many. That's the other problem here, right? Do we need a B tree for this then? I guess we could, in naive approach right now, we could do find the nearest match. And that's a good example, right? Search nearest, we'll just put nearest, right? Prefix. We'll have null return if it's not found. Oh yeah. If you have if you have B tree, then obviously you're doing a binary search, but we can't the which is that simple. Anyway, we'll get there in a second. Right, let's just do this first and we can iterate on it. So we want to call binary search on our sorted list. So we need to get our name index keys into a list. And let's call this keys. And then value that we're searching for, that prefix, and a compare function, which is going to have each of our 2 elements that we want to compare. And this will be E1, E2. And I'm going to say key1 compared to key2 for a second, and we'll look at what this does. This should give us an index. And if that index is -1, as the document stated, then it didn't find anything, so we're going to return null. Otherwise, we know what index it is. So keys index will give us the key. And then we can go return that entry or go look up that entry in the file. In this case, we'll just go return the entry. We're going to remove this in a minute, right? So entries dot line. Oh no, it's just hang on. Let's see what that is. No, it's I've made a mistake. Hang on. All right, we're going to do multiple lookups. Named index that. Right, so let me just explain this last portion, right? So keys index gives us the key. Let's just go. This is the key that we found, right, from the binary search. We then have to look that up in the named index to get the value. The value is the line number. And then that line number is then looked up inside of the entries because we order the entries in the same order that they are in the lines, right? That's as simple as it gets right now. But what we can do in the case when we don't want to load all the data, well, now we have the line number, we can actually load the file based on a particular line number, let's say. We'll change that for a character index and a start and end character index in a minute. But first of all, let's do this. Right. So, okay, now we have a function we can call and we have access to the database. Let's go make a bit of UI. Let's wrap this in a column. And there is like a search bar. Do you know, I haven't used this in, I don't know how long. We try it though. Search anchor. Looks like, okay, so search bar looks like a text field. Tap in the search bar typically shows a search view route. A route with a search bar at the top and a list of suggestion of completions. I don't want that. Do I want that? The builder provides search controller that's used to the search bars on tap. On change callback shows the search behind it. I think we'll just give it a go and see what happens. An example demonstrates. Oh, well, look, we can look at it on hello, go away. API.flutter.dev, and let's see what it looks like. Click, and I can type in something, and then, well, that's IM2. Well, yeah, we still need to. That's the filtering process. But can we filter this? This is the question: can we filter as we type this suggested list? That's what we want to do. I think the answer is probably yes. Let's have a look. So controller open view. Search controller is what's search anchor has. Okay. Search bar. Leading, trailing. Suggestions builder. Ah, okay. So do you need an anchor to use the search bar? Sounds like you do. All right, let's try it. Oh no, what can go wrong? Wrap it with the search anchor. That creates a builder, was it? I saw. Yeah, builder. And we'll return our search bar using that controller. And then we've got suggestions builder. Okay, and that's kind of what we want. I'm guessing we return like a list or something from that. And then controller is going to give us our current value somewhere. Text. Current string user is editing. Sounds like what we want. So in theory, we can go database nearest prefix controller text item. I know entry, and then I guess if we have an entry, we need to return something. What does this return? Widgets. Iterable widget. Okay. So guess we'll do something like if entry is not equal null, then we'll return something else. Nope. Else return. Right. And then this can have a what was it using in the example? List tile. Yeah. And then on tap, set the thing and close it. Okay. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, apparently the clipboard's screwed. Right, anyway, list tile, title, text, entry dot name. In fact, let's pull out this and make a entry widget or something like that. Entry. I'm going to put meetup entry in it. Let's call it meetup list widget. List item. List item. We can also do a not much of a widget right now, but that'll do as a beginning piece so we can reuse the same expectation of UI. Do I want entry like that? I think I might. Oh, I think I might make a change to name parameter. Cool. Cool. Okay, the reason for doing that is now I can reuse it here for when we display set entry There you go.
If
Ah,
anyone
requires-
has questions about what Simon's doing, please feel free to type it in the chat.
Yeah. Feel free to
Make sure
ask
Simon's aware of it. Yeah. So I'm not just idle. I'm sitting here watching for people to write questions.
Right. Well, we have a search anchor. We have a suggestion builder. And all this fun stuff. I know. Let's restart and see what happens. Oh, I saw a box. I have broken something. Something has broken. We have an assertion. Why you do this? This wasn't very clever. Let's clear and restart. Yep, that'd be a problem. Vertical viewport was given an unbounded height.
It's like a column inside a column or something, right?
Oh, no. I know it is. I forgot my
But that-
expanded.
Oh,
That'll do it.
yeah, that'd do it.
There we go. Okay, so we have a box, but now it's let's wrap this in a safe area. And padding. That's better, I guess. All right,
TDD
so-
is for people that have time to spare. That's the whole TDD is. It's a great way to burn more time. Just kidding. No, TDD is actually useful. Sometimes.
I was expecting to see something out of this. I wonder if it's because it's not finding an exact match. Let's debug it.
Let's add print until it works.
Okay, apparently on change doesn't trigger the suggestions builder. Because that would make sense. So does that mean we need to trigger it somehow? This just seems stupid. There's an on change and on submitted. That doesn't seem right to me. Hang on a minute. Is full screen search controller view builder. View on change. Let's go back to the example. I mean, as I type in here, it opens up. Oh, open view on tap. Really? Okay, fine. Is that really what the problem is? Let's have a look. Probably. Oh, grief. On that controller. Open view. And was it on change? That way it's open when you're typing. Sure. Right. And this needs a value, sure. You're going to ignore your value. Okay. Let's try that now. Ah, okay. Good. Hit the breakpoint. Let's continue. Also, why the hell is the background? Oh, it like opens up full screen. Is there a setting for that as well? Did I miss that? Search anchor builder. Maybe there's a theme, something to do with the theme. I don't know. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, let's do that. Let's carry on. Right. So let's do Flutter L-I-L. Flutter L-I-L-E. Hang on a minute. Prefix to lowercase. That would help. Yay. Okay. We've got an exact match.
Yay, working.
So now the other side of this is when we get key 2, we want to say sublist substring 0 to key 1 dot length. And what we're now doing is making a comparison based on the prefix, hopefully. Or we do a greater than or less than, because that would be stupid to do it the way I just did it. I really do hate that. I feel like, do you know what I really like? If we had negative numbers so that you can do like from the end, which I know a lot of SDKs have. I always found that really helpful. So if you want like the last 3 characters of a string, you can just say start at -3, you know? And it's like, because you can't have less than 0 in a character string, right? Like, I feel like it's like a nice shorthand.
And on the other hand, it would mean that out of range errors would be harder to detect.
Yeah, I mean, they at least have a function for it. Like,
Yeah, have a different name function that can do.
yeah.
Right, exactly. Substring
And,
with wrap or something.
And also,
Yeah.
like, you say out of range, but equally, like, yeah, like this, like, I'm now having to calculate some stupid out, you know. Oh,
Why don't you write an extension on a string that does substring the way you want it, and then just use yours?
Yeah. What?
That would work.
Yeah. Stop
Extensions
making
are
sense.
for.
Stop making sense, Randall, please.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, there are times to do that, and I love this. I love that Christian says PHP did this really well. No, PHP did this better than other things it did, which were all sets the bar really low. Yes.
Isn't there like 3 or 4 different ways to do that in PHP? I think there is.
PHP is a Perl wannabe. It always tried to catch up and never got there.
says the Perl expert.
Says the Perl expert. Well, I know. I've been there. I've been on a cruise ship with Raphael or whatever his name is, the guy that created PHP. I've been on a cruise ship with him. And the first PHP was written in Perl anyway, so there's a strong connection between the two.
That's not what I want either, is it? I'm doing this all wrong today. I want the length of 2. But no long. Right. I want the length of 1. Something's not adding up here. Hang on. This should match on 1 character less. Oh, prefix length. Oh my god! Like, right, key. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that now. Right. It's the wrong way around. Whatever. That can't work. What am I doing? I'm being stupid. Yeah. Compare key 1 to key 2, and we want the maximum of prefix in key 2. No. It'd be the smaller. It'd definitely be the smaller of the 2. Huh. No. No. Starts with is returning true or false if it starts with this thing. The thing is that compare needs to return back -1 if it's less than, 1 if it's greater than, and 0 if it matches. So you could say, we could override this and say key 1 starts with, wait a minute, that's a good point. Key 2, which should be the prefix, right? then one of these will be the prefix coming in.
I think you need a regular expression here. I'm sure that'll help. That'll help. Regular expressions always help.
Regular expressions on everything, right? Return 0, right? And then otherwise compare the two.
If it's good enough for Perl, it's good enough for Perl. It's good enough for Dart.
Flutter Nairobi came up. So Flutter L Los Angeles LILL. There you go. That works. It's me shortcutting it. Okay, so but we're only getting one result, right? That's the problem. So not so good. So, but the point here is this is the most efficient way of searching, right? A binary search. But equally, we need to do 2 binary searches to find the extents of all of the matches that start with this thing and essentially, hang on, let's think about the math. Basically, we want to find the range, the sorted range that matches, right? That starts with. So we actually need 2 results. This is like start index. And then we also, if we get start index, then we want an end index. And if we have an end index, then from the end index, we can then get the range of entries and then return those. So this can be a list. So effectively, we're saying return for I to equal start index, well, I is less than I plus plus. So for each one, we're going to need to have the key. So we'll just do it that way. And then, right. So if we do this and we get our
and I see all that and I immediately go, that should be a for in loop, not a bunch of indexes. But yeah.
I mean, I don't know how we do that with for in because we
need
to
because they're not the beginning and ending of the actual full list. Okay, sorry. Yep. Ignore me.
Right. So I guess we could do ends with and then flip these around. Let's keep going. I don't know. Let's find out. Right. So now we've got nearest, or we've got. We'll just call this. We'll just call it search now. Let's go down to our results, and we could just make a for result in this or entry in Bosch. That's a bit. Oh, because nullable. That's annoying. I guess we don't need nullable, right? We could actually just return back an empty array. Oops. And make that const. Lovely. And then it's not nullable. Even better. What happens? I guess we also need to make sure. Let's have a look. So if we say Flutter, didn't work. Didn't expect it to be honest. We need to find the greatest, which is inverted this condition. That's probably not going to work the way I want it to either. Oh, yeah, Flutter. All the ones that start with Flutter. This is looking good. Flutter N. See, I wasn't expecting that. I guess we can say starts with returning negative 1. And this wants to find a match. And we're trying to find the first one that does not start with this thing, which is a little different, I think. I feel. Let's see. Damn. I don't know why I was doing ends with anyway. That's not what I want to do. And let's do a substring. And then do a quality check. Because the first one that doesn't match that, it would be an equality match. So the check here is actually, yeah, because they're sorted. We want to compare one to the other, but we want to say which one starts with key 2, but substring, right? So this would be, well, no, we want to say equality. Key 1, substring. I'll get this in a second here. Math.min. Key 1.length. The smaller of the 2. Does not equal. This is the first one after that index, though. And this is not going to work. Not going to work the way I want. I can't be bothered with this right now. Right. Let's. There's a. I know this isn't going to work because the first one is fine. It's not going to be the matching expectation. It'd be fine if we were just like, if this was just an iterable. Could you keep the second start with check the same and use key 2 competitive? See, that's what I was thinking as well. So we keep the key 1, key 2 comparison, but then just flip this condition so they're sorted in the opposite direction. But then the end index would need to be inverted, right? Because, I mean, we don't actually print anything here. I'm not actually seeing why it's failing, to be honest. So that might be helpful.
I was having troubles trying to figure out what you're translating in terms of using the B-tree search to actually identify.
Well, we're not
trying
really.
to find everything. Yeah.
The problem here, we're not actually doing a B tree, right? If we're doing a B tree, then this whole problem goes away properly, right? What I'm trying to do is use a binary search. I mean, we could just do an index. We could just do a scan search. Like
Yeah,
not
that'd be faster than anything.
The binary search is what makes it difficult because it's doing sample checks rather than a full series of checks. So, I mean, if we get rid of the binary search and we're just to go index where, right? So if we do keys dot index where, and then we just say where one starts with the other, right?
Yep.
Essentially, this is what we do for anyone that's at home. This is what we're doing here. Query, and then there you go. I'm just going to simplify this right now. I can't be bothered dealing with the hassle of it right now. And then last index where. There you go. That's essentially what we're trying to achieve, but with binary search, right? Rather than this, which is going to scan over every item. But let's just do this. I can't. And then, so if I type things like Flutter, there you go, A, now the ones that start with Flutter A appear. It's that simple, right? Like I'm not trying to do anything, amazing here. But this is where, if we try and type something that say, let's do Flutter again, and you got Flutter ACCRA, whatever, Accra. If I type Accra, it's not going to come up, right? Because we're doing this prefix search. So anyway, there are plenty of ways of generating an index and searching an index. For example, we can do a keyworded search, right? Where you get rid of stop words like and, or, if, then, right? These are stop words. You turn the rest of the words into keywords. Those go into an index all of their own. And essentially that means that wherever you type, like in this case, I don't know, beyond, because there's one of the results here, code beyond. Beyond would have an index of this element, this row in the database alongside it. Anyway, the key here is that we need an index. I mean, the whole point of the original question was, how can we fetch data from the database on demand without having to load the full database? So we've done search. This is the basic thing, just so we can look at indexes, right? Now we've got an index. This is the main thing. We want to store that index. So what I'm going to do here is do a really primitive way of doing this. We're going to print JSON encode name index. This feels very painful, but we're going to try it. I mean, it certainly worked to a degree because we have a limited length of line. Yeah, let's do JSON. Let's do this and see if that does me any better. There we go. And it stopped. Was that me? Or why did it stop? Try that again. Because each line, you've got a limited number of lines, I'm guessing. So, okay, let's do this. Encoded for final. This is just me trying to get data out of it quickly from, so we can move on. For line in line splitter encoded. Print line. Goodness begrudging me, this is painful. Right. This is not the way to extract large amounts of data. There we go. Right. Copy that. We're going to make an index file. File meetups index.json. I could actually add a breakpoint and then just copy it. I wasn't thinking. I tell you, it's tight. I'm getting tight. It's been a long day. If you forget it, it's getting like here. Right. Okay. So there's our lovely index, a JSON file that has the line numbers and all the text versus the line number, right? So it ends up being pretty straightforward. Now we've got that. Instead of generating our index like we're doing right here, what we can do is, instead of like loading the file and generating it just like we're doing, what we want to do is we're going to make we don't want line numbers, do we? We're not going to be able to do that. Hang a minute. 1 second. Brain. Fudge. Yeah, when we're loading it from an asset, which loads it all into memory anyway, if it's a file, it's different. We could still load it from a file. I don't think there's any abstractions to deal with line scanning. Let me just have a quick check here. Yeah, I think we can open read and get a list of bytes, but we need to start and ends. Read as lines is nice, but that's reading your whole file. You're not giving it a index. You still have to scan it to find those lines. So I think we'd be better off with doing an open read with the start and end. I'll take your advice to the breakpoint copy now. Let's open that out for a second. Let's make a function here, build index, right? And it's going to return back a map of string to index to int, and we're going to have a function that actually builds the index, right? Because it's a pretty good idea because we might need to refresh it, right? Let's make this a future short. Yeah. Right. So we convert we create our name tree index. Don't need entries for each line. We're going to decode it and get our entry. We're going to add that entry to our index. And this is the difference. This is where we're having a problem, right? So we need to actually essentially record a start index and end index, right? And this becomes a list of record. Would that work? Yeah. Where is it? All these are named. Sure, let's name them. Get there eventually. Oh, right. So we decode the entries. We're going to get each one. So this is going to require some finessing, I think is the technical term. We're like doing a little custom database thingamajig, Solomon. You'll see. But we're building the database index right now. Essentially, we want to do this, but I don't particularly want to have to filter out. It'd be really nice if there was a way of doing this conversion and for it to give you those. This is what we need, those start and end values. I mean, without copy and pasting this, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, this deals with the fact that you have CRLFs, which are line return and character, line feed and character return. If we just care about line feed, we can simplify this whole model, which I'm thinking we could do. We could also byte count the lines as they come in. Yeah, they're getting converted from UTF-8 though. I honestly think it's probably easier for us to just quickly iterate ourselves. Let's do that. So we have this data. This is we're not going to load it as a string because we need the byte offsets. So we'll load it as a as byte data. The byte data itself, we get that as where is it? As buffer, as unit list. And I think we can. What happens if we load immutable buffer? That's probably what we want. Does that have a? Oh, maybe not. From unit list, from asset. Can we do anything with an immutable buffer? Apparently not. We don't want that. What's this from? It just does load data anyway. It literally just does what I was talking about, which creates a unit sublist view on the data. Let's just do that. Let's do that. No, same thing. right? And this is just loads. All right, so we've got our data coming in for the file. We need to essentially iterate through the bytes in the file, and length in bytes. No, that's the same because it's UNO list, right? Right. So now we're going to have I is going to be the index into the data. No, we're not. Not exactly. No. This is just about building the index, right? So we need to have all the data in memory to know where that data is in the first place, right? Once we've done this, it's ON, right? This is because, like, you would progressively build the index as you insert data in the data table. We already have a data table, and we're trying to build an index from it, right? So there's if that makes sense. Right, anyway, so first things first, let's just say start equals 0. Our first string starts there. If the character, we're just going to treat this as byte data at this stage. We're not treating it as character, it's byte data. We then take the substring that we calculate for the line where we need to process it later and convert that using UTF-8 to be the actual data that we need, the string data. You need to look at encodings for strings, but basically you have a series of bytes, you convert them into a string of characters or runes, as they're also called in the trade, depending on how they've been encoded, basically, right? So anyway, so here we got start. We'll say if. Gone.
Are you going to use the characters package?
We wouldn't need to for this. So first of all, right now, so if I count the characters, I'm having to decode the character, re-encode them, just to find out if it's like character return or not. So all we're going to do now is say if data I is equal to 0x13 and 10. Sorry, this is what's called NL or sorry NF line feed, right? And when we get a new line, okay, now we know where the start is. So the start, we now know where the end is, which is I. So now we can add to our index. So if I grab our splay tree, right? We need to decode. Sorry, we do need to decode here. Yeah. So now we've got the start and end. We say we're going to move up our line. So let's grab line out of here. So line is going to be the UTF-8 decode of the substring of bytes of data substring of start to I. Right, that's going to be our line. This also gives our start.
How do you know that 13 or the 10? Excuse me. How do you know the 10 isn't the second or third byte of a multi-byte?
No, well, the highest bits. No, the highest bit's not set. It could be the second.
Right.
The highest bit has to be set if it. Don't get me wrong, we're taking liberties a bit here, right? But
okay.
equally,
all right.
with you, at least if it's UTF-8 encoded, that's not possible because the high bit's not set.
Right, because the 8, yeah, okay.
If I was comparing 90, that would be a problem, right?
Okay, sure.
Right.
Got it.
The high bit's not set, so it always has to be the last byte in the sequence of UTF-8. This is why it makes UTF-8 backwards compatible with ASCII, right? Which makes it helpful. For anyone that doesn't understand, the 10 here is there's actually a package called charcode on pub. Let's just go find it briefly.
Characters, not charcode, right?
Is it no, charcode is what I'm looking for.
Oh, no, I don't know about that one.
Oh, you don't know that one? Oh, now you do. Right. Let's add
Okay.
it. We'll use that. I'm just going to pop that in there just because. Oh no, I've already got it in. Already got it. Yeah.
You've used it before.
I've used it somewhere else in some other example. So in this case, we would do $LF.
Oh, this is char code. I've seen it.
Right, you might have seen this around, yeah. And now we can import in like the ASCII characters, and what it does, you can see here, line feed control character. Oh, it's 10 decimal 0A hexadecimal.
Yeah.
That would have been fun, right? Anyway,
it would have been broken.
Yeah. Anyway, so now we have the line. We can now do this piece, which decodes the line from JSON, creates our entry. We then use an entry name to decode it. Now, this is a little bit inefficient. If we were to do this properly, we wouldn't be doing it this way. We would scan for the name field and just process out the name field rather than decode the entire object. But this is just a simple example. Right, so now we have start, end is I. Now we can fill those values in. We can now say the start of the next item in the list is going to be I, right? I plus 1, sorry. This is the character after this, right? So after the line feed, because we're not including the line feed. This is exclusive, right? All right, so now we've done that. What we're going to have is an index of byte entries. So now if we call build index, where's our database? We'll just do here, load database, then we'll say, yeah, we'll do instance. The first time we do this, we're going to build in index. Print index. I know this is not going to be what I want. Just bear with me. Yeah. JSON encode. Let's just do this. We're just going to be really, really lame on this right now. But we're going to breakpoint here and then copy that out in a second. Right. So that's hopefully going to be our index that we can then store. Once we have it, when we load the database, instead of loading the actual file data, so we're going to grab this file out here. We're going to pop that up here. That's our reference to the file. So file, in fact, we're not going to load it from assets. We'll load it, it's the same location relative, but we'll load it from a file. The whole point of assets is loaded in memory, right? So this kind of defeats the point of using it as a large database. So don't do that. But what we can do is say file read as bytes. So it does the same thing, but slightly different. Now, down here, when we want to load the database, what we're actually doing enough is loading the index. So what we'll do is we'll create another thing. We'll call this data file. No, we're gonna data file and index file. Why not? And then we'll call this meetup. I don't remember why I started calling it index.json. There you go. And index file is what we want to load down here. And data file here. Once we've done this once, I'll comment this out because we know we don't need to build the index anymore. We'll start the app up with an index, right? All right, so now we've got that. We need to be able to load the index file. So index data equals index file dot read a string. And we want to JSON decode that. JSON decode. We're going to treat the result as a map. What we say as map, and then we'll cast that map. Oops. To a string of to map of string to int. Nope. I don't know if we can actually encode. Do you know what? I don't know what happens if you try and encode records. You reckon it's going to fail? I don't know.
You mean encode?
We're going to find out. I'm going to see what happens. I'm pretty sure that I can't imagine this working, but you know.
Oh yeah, JSON doesn't process records. No, it doesn't understand
it doesn't,
either direction. No,
well, that's annoying. We can just do an array.
You can add an extension to a record of the right shape that has the 2JSON.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. Let's do that. Let's do that.
No, I wouldn't
Yeah.
really suggesting that. No,
It's your fault, Randall. It's all your fault.
Sorry.
Jason,
Sorry, everyone.
meetup entry index. Type there, please have entry index. Yeah, it's your fault. It's all your fault.
And from JSON will work the other way, won't it?
I blame Randall.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, you can't do from JSON because that to be an extension on string.
Yeah, you can, but it'd be you'll see this. Hang on. What was I doing? Shit, you now got me on. Hang on. Yeah. And then we'll do a map string dynamic to JSON. Start, end. Would that work? I guess so. I mean, they're named. They're not been identified though. That's interesting. We'll find out. Let's find out. And then we're going to add a static meetup index. This is screw it. What can go wrong, eh? Let's do that. Let's see what happens.
This is so perverted. This is.
Shh.
I know. There are kids watching. I know. Shut up. Yes. There are kids
let's
watching.
move this down out of the way. Let's put this stick in there.
There are young, impressionable programmers watching this.
Yeah.
We're corrupting them forever.
You're corrupting them. Yeah, let's do that. This is right. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Right. So, where are we going with this? Yeah. So now, if we want to do if we do 2JSON on that will dynamically call the encodable 2JSON. We'll get back the entries that we want. We could actually, to be honest, we don't actually need start and end. We could actually be a bit more, bit kinder on this. We can actually have this as dynamic, which is what it should be, and then make it a list, right? Start, end. That might be a bit more efficient on the old file structure. And then this becomes 0, 1. Sure. Why not? Okay, so right, let's do that. What can go wrong? So if we do the static thing, right, so now is it from, where am I loading? Here.
I'm sure people around me here in the bar are wondering what I'm laughing at so badly here.
It's not that funny, is it? They're like, what's going on?
Yeah, let's see if it works first. If it works, I'll fall on the floor. It'll be fun.
And I'm like, sir, can we come help you up?
Yeah, make the bad man stop the record processing.
Make it stop. Yeah. Right. So what am I talking about? Index. We want to return back a JSON, sorry. That'll do. When it not should do. What's the complaint? Oh, because we're mapping a map. No, I'm storing a. I know I am. Just bear with me. My head's just split in half. I want to build a map entry. Don't I just? I think so. And then this is going to be cast key value. Key value. Sounds about right. I know, it can only be wrong. So, okay, so let's say we just load up the index. Instead of entry list of entries here, we now want our splay tree map. I guess it's this splay tree map of string of meetup index. And we're not going to have our entries anymore. Let's name index. Oh, I just had an idea. Oh, well, I don't know. Let's not go too far. Right. Cool. Is that all I care about? Feels like it right now. Let's get rid of all of that. We don't need any of that. All right. So now we need a mechanism to get an index, an entry, meetups entry. Entry. Index. And we'll have, what was it called? Data file. Data file. Open read. Index.start. Index.end. We want to through that through UTF-8 convert. You could actually open up random access, surely. And random access read. Let's do that. There's a couple of different ways we can do this, by the way, just telling people. So we can stream read it, which is open read. That's going to return back a stream of chunks. So this returns a stream of chunks of int. You then need to pass those chunks of int through a converter. So UTF-8 has a UTF-8 codec has a convert function. No, bind. Decoder. I'll get there in a second. Bind to a stream of list of int. So you can do this. And at the end of this, you're going to get your JSON data, right? That's one way of doing it, right? So this is going to give you a stream. When the stream closes, this is all going to close. It's going to close down bind. You can actually chain these together. Another way of opening it is just opening up random access file. So you can say file, call it access, right? And then you can do access dot set position, I think it is. Oh, maybe it opens that one. Yeah, oh, it is. It's just the future. Ignore me. Wait. And then you can essentially say read, set the position somewhere. Seek, probably. Set position. There you go. Set position. This will be to the start position of the file. And then we can then say read, and the count of bytes that we want to read. And that would be end minus start in this case, right? So if I say index start, index end minus index start, and then we've now got a buffer of data. I think this was asynchronous, right? This would be the data. Oh, it's synchronous. Anyway, and then now we've got the data. We just now need to take the data and put it through UTF-8 decode, right? So this is the difference, right? So this is basically doing exactly the same thing. This needs to be awaited for. I'm going to go nuts. What is going on? It does make it work. Oh, it's because it's function isn't. Okay, there you go. Right, anyway. So now we've got this final JSON is essentially the JSON string, right? These two things are equivalent, right? It's just this is imperative. This is like functional. Anyway, right. Back to the. Shall I leave it in there for people? Why not? Do dot can you as well? Yeah. Oh, and you need to close the file, don't you? Yeah. As well. That'd be bad. Right. Anyway. I'll leave it in. I'll leave that in there just as a point of reference. But yeah. Right. So now we've got the JSON. We can now say meetups entry dot from JSON. I say JSON. This is data. Let's put data. So that's what it is. And then JSON.decode data. Right. Wait. Oh, to list. Sorry. No. First. Yeah, first should do it, but like this. Yeah, that should do it. Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. Cool. So now we've got that. Back to our name index. We can grab our name index. We do the same lookup. And now each time we're going to access it, we can say we want the entry for that index, right? Okay. And it needs to be awaited for. Await. There we go. Future. Can we do this synchronously? We definitely do it in imperative synchronously. If you're doing a stream, you're always going to be doing it asynchronously. It's kind of annoying. Do we do it synchronously? I mean, it's not a great idea to do that. The annoying thing is now I want to make my search, my suggestions builder. Oh, it does. No, oh, that's good because this pulls a future, doesn't it? Hang a minute. Future. There we go. Future of iterable widget. Cool. Cool. Let's make this async. Sweet. Someone thought of this. We could actually take this one. Oh, yeah. I was going to say we could do it in a wait for, right? Have search return back a stream of meetup in entry, async star it. Oh, very nice. Then the return just becomes return. And at the bottom here, we can then do a yield for each entry. In fact,
yeah. Ooh. Can you just return the string rather than waiting for the entry? Can you yield star?
Well, we could actually we could do a yield star because they're not doing futures, but we do yield star on a future wait, right? Then build those futures up in here.
Weird, yeah.
I wonder if this is going to break.
Nice.
Let's find out.
Oh,
I can think of ways
let's see
this
how
might
many
break.
complex features can we mix in one expression?
Yeah, right.
It should go in the test suite. It should go in the test suite for Dart. Can Simon's code break
Wait.
Dart?
Wait. Can I do like a yield? Yeah, you can yield all, right? Like, I guess this is turning back a list. It's not synchronous. It's not a sync star. I want an iterable. Ah, so yield star is only going to work in an async star function. This method type implies a yield star. It's implied by the yield star, but must be assigned to stream star. Yeah. So this is the thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if it was
No,
a
it's
sync,
gonna
yeah, it's just if we do this, this is fine. But then we're not emitting as soon as one finishes, right? I mean, we don't.
No,
Do we
it's-
care about the order? Here's the thing: if we don't care about the order of the search results, we could actually emit them as soon as they're loaded, which would be
yeah.
an interesting paradigm. But anyway, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. I feel like this is going way off the reservation, right? Let's just yield, await the entry.
We're coming up on 3 hours. Here, so.
Are we really? Okay, yeah. We need to. Oh shoot, yeah. We need to wrap up in a minute. Right, what's going on? Why is this not?
I'm on my third diet soda already.
What? Why is this? Sure, but then how does that make any difference? Oh, because I've got missing the semicolon. Yeah. Right. There we go. All right. So, yeah. So we can't list them all per se right now. Let's just comment that out. I'm just going to do the search results, right? Oh yeah, it would help if I had a file, index file, right? Let's clear this. Continue. They break. Right. Where did I put that breakpoint? And did I keep it in there? I probably didn't. No, I didn't. There we go. Breakpoint in there. Restart. We're going to hit our breakpoint, hopefully, or it's going to throw an exception before we get there. Continue. Right. What went wrong? Yes, you cannot open it because you shouldn't. How you build index? Oh, data. Right, this is running on device. Don't make me do this. Okay, we're gonna simulate. I don't want to have to drop the file. This is just annoying. Okay, so let me explain the dilemma here for anyone that's watching. And there's a quick fix we can do. It's kind of lame, but we can do it just for an example. So at the moment, I'm trying to access a file. I saw it's running on my machine. It's not. It's running on a device. When you run a device, the files you're accessing, these aren't going to be in the local directory. I'm not shipping them alongside that. They're actually getting shipped in assets at the moment, which again kind of makes this a bit defunct in the way that we're approaching this. So we can access access the assets as a file is one option. We can also just get the asset and drop it to a file and then read that file. Again, not ideal, but also workable. But this is all just like a demo thing, right? So this is probably a little function we can make, and we'll just spin it up as the app starts, and then do it. Or something we could run on. It's still, if we run on the local machine, we still need to run it. Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking myself out of another mechanism. So let's just do the quick one right now, which is drop files. Let's just do this. Await drop files. Facing star. Right. And then future void. This is going to be hard coded, for example. Let's put it example use case only, right? So what we want to do is read a file from assets, i.e. this one here. So final data, sure, root bundle, load this. This is going to give us byte data, and then we can then say file this write as bytes data. I don't know, let's do data, but we can do data buffer. We need to wait. And then we also need to ensure that assets exists as a directory in the current directory. So directory current path. This is just like lame because I don't want to do this without. I don't want to do this with don't do this at home. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, we're trained professionals, sort of.
Right. All right. Let's do that. This will do terrible things. Why you said the current directory is something I can write to? Hang on. You're gonna make me do more work, aren't you? Path exists. How is the what? Are you telling me the current working directory is root? Okay, that's interesting. I would have thought it would have been the application data directory. I guess not. This is what path provider is used for. Path provider is used for. This has some lovely top.
The whole mobile sandboxing of the file system is really confusing for at least me, and I think a lot of other people too. Because we're so used to just going / whatever, and we get the whole disk. You can't do that in mobile. It doesn't work that.
You can't do that on like anything anymore.
That's true. They are starting to lock everything down.
Oh yeah, and then we need to Flutter. We need to find the initialize. Path not found. What? Oh, because it's trying to read it from the current directory again. So we need to inject the application support directory. Right, let's just do that quickly, and then we can get on with our lives. Where am I going to create? Let's do. Actually, I could also make this. Oh, it is a future. I'll just do it here. It's just return a directory or path. Directory. Oh, wait, yeah. Actually, no, let's build it with the index. That's probably better. So I have where am I? We're going to call this twice. It's not the end of the world. We're just trying to do something really simple. Where is the bit? Hang on, I've lost myself. Index file. Oh, here's the constructor. Sorry. Final directory. Location. I don't know. Let's just go data dir. Data dir. Oh, that's good. Data dir. There's actually the correct way. Let's just, I'll include all the packages. Why not?
Like Flutter 327 and Dart 3.6 just landed.
Nice. Late final. Doing it the right way. Right, and finally, we'll do the same thing up here. We'll get a data directory, and then we'll do a path join. That's fine. In fact, we store the directory in assets dir, whatever. Just do that's the path. We need this done. I want it working. We're nearly there, right?
Just call up Copilot and say, fix this.
Yeah, right. Like it would have a clue.
Yeah. We have exceeded the level of clever that Copilot can do.
We don't need that anymore. Right. Unable to load asset. Good. That's exactly what I expected to happen. Great. Believe it or not, that's what we want. So if I put my breakpoint back in up here, where are we? Yeah, so it's going to fail on loading that. This is expected because we don't have the index yet. We're going to restart the app now. This is going to hit our a breakpoint. Ooh. Converting object to an encodable object failed. Record. End of this. Start that. Stringify. Well, what did it fail? How to?
Is it not calling the right to JSON?
No, it's getting to. Remember, how's it getting to the build? It's trying to build the widgets before partial result.
Maybe the record needs a string file.
Is this because it's trying to read the in? I think this is because this is not a valid index right now. Hang on. Let me start this up again. I because this is asynchronous, right? So it's not hitting this breakpoint before it's breaking inside the UI of the app. It's trying to run the index search. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We're getting ahead of ourselves. What we're going to do, it's going to probably break in the same place. Yeah. No, it's fine. Expected behavior right now because we don't have an index. So it can continue. If I just do this, right. Let's try this again. Good. That's what I want. I want that to happen. Now, where's my breakpoint and why didn't it hit the breakpoint is the question I've got. Okay, hit that breakpoint. Okay. Step over. Now we're going to go into build index. Let's carry on. Let's put a breakpoint here. Continue. Right, here's our start. All right, so it must have got to the point where, there we go. So there's a line. This is r/r. Okay. Well, so what? It has the white space character. That should be fine. And then the next time we proceed, let's hit continue. Again, a completely valid object. And we're reading, which one are we reading this far? Yes, that's the second line. Right? That's the second line there. Next, we've got web app builders. Let's take a look. Where did that go? Let's close others. What are you doing? Right, let's see where we're at. Web app builders, that is the next one. I think what I've got here is a extra character. So if we proceed, I reckon we would go through all of these. It's working for each one. I think what's going to happen is we're going to hit the end here. It's two characters than one that I was planning for anyway. If I hit continue, let's get rid of this breakpoint and put breakpoint here. I don't think we're going to hit that breakpoint. No, we are. I lied. Oh yeah, but that worked. Okay. Okay, continue. So build index returned an index, but it then couldn't encode it. Question mark. Hang on. Index data. I think that's what's actually happening here. I think our fancy record to JSON is failing. Let's see. Let's do this. Hit continue. And
I'd put money on that. Yeah.
Get rid of that.
It was flaky idea.
Okay, so look, we have a splay tree map. Is it because it's a splay tree map? I would have thought it would have just treated it as a normal map. It would do, wouldn't it? Yeah, it should do. All right, let's step in. Let's see. Does it actually call? Are we sure that the extensions actually apply? Yeah, it didn't call it. All right, let's make a quick little entry class and then just get rid of this. And then that solves it. Oh, well.
Being a bit too clever with records.
I can't. Well, yeah, I just can't bother with like the hassle right now. We could probably figure it out. I don't have the time or inclination right now to fix it in another way. Oh, look, I just format the code in a different way. It's now going to work. Right, what is the problem here? Because this means meetup index, start, end, and meetup index from JSON. Okay, let's try that. Okay, we hit our create. Let's continue. Okay, now we have the same thing, a map, and now we have instance of map tree index because I'm an idiot. I did not put the breakpoint in the right place, but let's see. Yes, it printed it off, so perfect. So now we will just add a toString here because we'll do JSON.encode. That. Why not? Right, what do we have? Let's have a look. Meetup tree index and the two numbers. Yeah. Looks good to me. So what we're going to do is JSON encode that. Continue. And now I can grab the value, copy value, go to our index file, paste it in there, format it. There's our lovely index. Save that file. Now we need to relaunch to have it shipped with that. I don't know why I'm doing that. Stop. We don't want to generate the index anymore. So I'm going to save all that piece of code. So now, if I enable the dropping of the index file, and okay, that should be it. We should now have loading. Let's see. Next time we'll use B-tree. Oh yeah, that's well. It didn't error. Where is my search box though? Why don't I have a search box? That's interesting. Let's do expanded with that placeholder in it just for a second. Oh, wait. I know what it is. I got rid of my home widget. There you go. I knew there was something else I disabled. Okay, get rid of that. You don't need that. All right. Should we see what happens? Oh, look. I have data. Flutter. Oh, look at that. Working.
Awesome.
Finally. There you go. So that's using the index to essentially look up with the position of file where the JSON objects are. The JSON objects then being loaded. Now, ideally, obviously, this is now reloading data quite often. There is a thing I'm going to leave for people to play around with, and then I'll post this code, and that is an LRU cache. So basically, at the moment, each time you read an entry, right, we're reading it from disk. This is slow. We should to do we want to attempt to read from LRU cache before loading from disk, right? And then if we load from disk, right? So this is final entry. Then we do add entry to LRU cache. Entry. There. So if you go, if you want to do this, then I recommend it. And then that's the kind of thing that would improve the performance, right? So once you've listed it once, it doesn't get loaded again. And again, as we said before, the ones that you're accessing all the time from your database are going to be the ones that stay in memory. And you could just let that be like LRU cache on like the last 10 items. And there's like maybe an example like this, 20 items, 50 items, whatever. All right, so I'm going to post, I'm going to update that right now. In fact, I'm going to post, I've been modifying the previous episodes file. So I'm going to post that into a new file. Do you want to dance for a second, Randall?
Well, I mean, it's you obviously can't see me, so it's going to be a little hard to. I can dance. I'm dancing. You can't tell, but I am. It doesn't really help.
Keep them busy.
Okay, got to keep them separated. Yeah. Let's see. What else doing? Yeah, karaoke. I'll break out a song and give us a copyright strike. That'll work really nice.
Forgive me.
No, definitely not. Definitely not doing that. I want to get a copyright strike for my.
We get copyright strike because it's too good, right? Right.
Yeah. It would have to be pretty good actually, but I am pretty good. I win contests. So, and I'm now running a karaoke show on Friday nights. So I'm actually doing probably like the first 6 or 7 songs, kind of get the crowd until the point where they're submitting songs. And then I don't sing the rest of the night because there's so many singers in the list that it just stays busy all the way to 2 a.m. And then I start winding down. I usually end up singing the last song.
Army.
Yeah.
Pushing the boat out there, Randall.
Yeah. Well, it's a gig, and I get free food and drinks, so that's not bad. And occasionally they tip me in my tip bucket, so there's that rule as well.
Right. Part 2.
Doing a lot of Jonathan Colton. Part 2, all right. Okay, part 2.
Yeah. So part 2 you'll find on the gist I just posted. There it is on screen. And that is what we just worked on.
Cool.
Thank you for coming, everyone. Hopefully you found that interesting and informative. And we can do something hopefully a bit more fun next stream. I know there was some random objects. I mean, someone asked for something else and I've forgotten what it is. But anyway, we'll try it next time. Or we can send on this if people want to still continue with databasey kind of things. Right.
Yeah.
And thanks again for coming, everyone. See you same time, same place. Thank you, Randall. Stick around. Cheers.
Out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.